What's up, y'all? This is a Twitter space for those listening later on YouTube. This is a Twitter space. All right. This is a Twitter space for those listening later on YouTube. All right, cool. What's up, everybody? What's up, Ray Black Shark, Quan S, New Black Media, Archives, Miriam. Thank y'all for joining. We're gonna be talking about this lying ass motherfucker, Fat Joe, and not just him. The whole just overall proof that this just the way he talks about music. He talks about music from a vulturistic standpoint, not so much a creative standpoint. And Fat Joe ain't gonna be the only vulture that we talking about. There are black vultures within our music too. I believe in house cleaning along with reprimanding others, because at the end of the day, no matter how much we reprimand other groups of people, if we don't clean house, and if we don't know the difference between those coming correct and those on some bullshit within our own house, we always gonna be slow to the game when it comes to people outside of our house. Uh, you know, we most definitely have culture vultures from the culture, like Jay-Z. Yeah, we're gonna talk about how his old plagiarizing ass plays into this too. Because remember, Fat Joe, who is Fat Joe's boss? Fat Joe's boss is the Jigga Man. So that means all of these BET award appearances and hostings, all these movies he's in. If Rock Nation represents him, that means this Rock Nation is the one that's putting him through these deals. How do we elevate somebody to the top and then that person use their platform to have a goddamn FBI informant woman running the label, running the business for him, and then using a Puerto Rican race hustler to be the face of our music? And who's behind Jay-Z? Who's behind Diddy? Like, I call Diddy, I don't call him, I call him, I call Diddy Jive Davis, because he's Clive Davis's bitch. You know, most of these black dudes that we see that got the face of power, there's some white boy, there's some white boy's bitch. They working for some white boy. Jay-Z works for Leo Cohen. You know, Diddy worked for Clive Davis. Dre works for Jimmy Iovine. What's his name? Russell Simmons worked for Rick Rubin. You see the pattern? Versus, back in the 70s when we controlled our music, Gamble and Huff didn't work for nobody. That's why they could put out songs like Stairway to Heaven, one of the most beautiful love songs ever. Is there a more beautiful love song than Stairway to Heaven? Songs like The Backstabbers, songs that had a message. Curtis Mayfield didn't work for nobody. You know, so he could put out If There's a Hell Below, We All Gonna Go. You know? Uh Earth and Fire, they actually did work under Clive Davis for a short while. But here's the thing. Then when they got their ARC label, they worked on their own. Clive Davis is somebody who came around in the early 70s to really figure out black music and black people and on the way we consume music and the way we made music. He didn't start going to work on killing off our music until 1980, into the 80s. He played a major part in Earth and Fire's Faces album for the most part bombing. Faces, if you into Earth and Fire, or if you just want to hear the most positive, spiritually uplifting album to me, one of the top 5 spiritual albums of all time across genres, including gospel, you got to go to Earth and Fire's double album, Faces. But that album was suppressed by the industry. You know what I mean? And it was considered Earth and Fire's first fail, and it started them on the the industry purposely sabotaged Earth and Fire. All that stuff started in the 80s, late 70s, 1980. That's when our music either got bought out by white groups or redistributed by white groups. See, by the time you get to the late 70s, a lot of your black labels are starting to sell because of the economic time. The Carter administration was very tough economically on America. So people didn't have the money to buy albums like they used to. So by the time you get to 78, 79, just the money, a lot of your black labels had to start selling. Or if they didn't sell, they had to start getting distribution deals like Motown did. Motown didn't sell, but they had to start getting distributed through I think it was MCA at the time. And so that's when those folks started putting a crunch on our music. Before then it was open. They didn't quite they were still recovering. They were in the middle of a Cold War. They were recovering from the Vietnam War. So in the Vietnam War. So their sights wasn't all the way on us for a period of time in the 60s and through the 70s. We had gotten our civil rights. So these crackers had given us about 10 years to breathe between 63 and 73. They gave us about 10, 15 years to breathe. And in that, we created the greatest music that the earth has ever known. Well, since then, they've known that they had to control our music. And they know that, for the most part, we're a smart group of people. You can't just have white people owning every fucking label. It'd be too obvious. So what did they start doing? They started bringing in these do-good niggas to be the face of white-owned labels. And they gave us the appearance of black ownership. They gave us the appearance of black ownership, still with white money controlling the whole thing. It started with Def Jam, Russell Simmons being the face, Rick Rubin being the money. Make no mistake about it, the money is what controls any fucking label. The face is just what they show us niggas. The money is what controls it. Then you go on into Ruthless Records, Jerry Heller. When NWA was selling music out of the trunk, Straight Outta Compton was a very political album. I love that album. And people who say that album brought in gangster rap, let me tell you right now, that's a stupid motherfucker talking. Because they didn't listen to the goddamn album. If you listen to the song Dope Man, the whole fucking song is talking about the reason why you shouldn't be a dope man, because you end up dead or I'm gonna kill you, or in jail. That was a very politically charged when the black folks were doing it out of the trunk, it was all good. And usually what these white labels will do is they'll let when they bring in when they change things, when they do things, they'll let the black act get the first album. The first album you have complete control and complete autonomy. That second album is when we start making changes. And by that third and fourth album, you done lost all your identity and you done sold out to us. And you gotta do it because we got you on a 10 album deal. And if you don't release these 10 albums, we got your punk ass for life. That's how they get down. So I'm building up to Fat Joe. Then we gonna get in talking about Fat Joe. Hey Nikki, if you free, you got co-host this for me if you free. I just sent you the invite. If you're not, don't trip. Um, but so that's they black on. Hey, child, Jay-Z, great. Ooh, look how much money. Oh, he's rich. You should follow Jay-Z. Oh, that's the Hove. And that's how the men talk. I ain't even got on the women yet. And they trip on Beyonce. That's how the niggas talk. Shit, I see why women be losing faith in men. The way these niggas dick suck on LeBron James and Jay-Z, I understand. Sorry, I apologize on behalf of men. God damn, if niggas defended black society as hard as niggas defend LeBron's fear to go to the free throw line in a crunch moment, nigga, we be all right. Nigga, if niggas defended black society the way niggas defend Jay-Z and his lips being top three, nigga, we would be all right as a people. If you couldn't talk about black people the way you can't talk about Jay-Z and the way women can't talk about Beyonce, think about how far we would be. We are the tools we need to empower and free ourselves. We just using these tools we using these tools on motherfucking tools and wonder why we being used like tools. Think about that for a second. Nigga, so you got these tools that have been elevated, and what do they do when they get power? Look at Diddy. He gets some power from Clive Davis, just because he getting ramrodded in the ass by Clive Davis, so what he do? He want to ramrod every other nigga he come across in the ass, like Clive Davis did him. The yes, I'm gonna use the word allegedly because this shit gonna go up on YouTube. I'm gonna use the word allegedly. Nigga, but nigga, we've been hearing them stories out here for 30 motherfucking years. And anybody just now figuring it out. If you under 20, I'll give you a pass. But if you're over the age of 30, you should have been knowing about these damn Diddy stories. Especially if you live in LA or New York or Miami. You really ain't got a pass if you live in one of them big three cities. This motherfucker got ramrodded in the ass. Now he want to ramrod every other nigga in the ass. Nigga get the power and abuse it. Suge Knight, he got the power from Jimmy Iovine. What'd he do? He want to bully everybody, start fights, shoot at niggas, have niggas drink dog piss because he got the power. You see his ass is locked up. I ain't gonna defend none of these niggas doing no shit like that. That the minute they get a little bit of power, they want to act like white men towards black men. Fuck any nigga that get power and want to act like a white man towards a black man. Fuck you and your mama. That's how I look at it, because she raised your punk ass to be that way. So you get that with the Suge Knight style, and then you get niggas like Jay-Z. They bring Jay-Z in. They say, Jay-Z, we want you to we gonna give Jay-Z his own goddamn promotion company. Never mind that promotional company was already around. They just changed the name of it and put his face on it for a small percentage of pseudo ownership, similar to what happened with the New Jersey Nets. If you go back and look at that sale, Jay-Z made a grand total of less than $500,000 on the sale of that when he sold his stake at the New Jersey Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, I think when Prokhorov bought that team, they were worth around $500 million. When Jay-Z sold his stake, they were worth over $2 billion. And with the team fucking quadrupling in value, his cash out for his percentage of ownership amounted to what was less than a box seat. So that tells you it was pseudo ownership, but enough ownership to tell niggas I own a team and be okay with me gentrifying Brooklyn. That happened. I don't give a fuck how you feel about Jay-Z. That happened. Barclays Center. That shit got built for a nigga to cash out for less than $500,000. You tell me if that's good business or not. You sold your people out for that. That's when James Brown said you sold me out for chicken change. That's exactly what the fuck James Brown meant. That nigga Jay-Z sold them the people of Brooklyn out for chicken change. You dig what I'm saying? So you got that, and then go let's deal with Tidal. When he got Tidal, what made him what got his ownership in Tidal was, and go and look it up, is 2008. Jay-Z signed a 10-year, $200 million Live Nation performance contract. And in the signing of that contract, somewhere around 60, 69 million was put up for Jay-Z to purchase Tidal. So if Live Nation puts the money in, in a performance contract to purchase this entity called Tidal. Who has first rights? Who's first in when it comes to the ownership? Jay-Z or the people putting the money up? So does Live Nation own Tidal or does Jay-Z own Tidal? Or is it more like that New Jersey Nets deal that he had? He kind of got a percentage of a percentage of a percentage and got just enough to be legally called the face of it. And so Tidal gets brought up. They say, let's everybody black, let's go to Tidal. Let's go to Tidal. Let's go to Tidal. And this is a black owned whoopty wham boomty bam. But he got a fucking FBI agent running the bitch. You look at the picture when he bought it, ain't nothing but Asians and white folks back there, as far as employees. It looked a hell of a lot of like Kamala Harris's picture. We saw Kamala Harris's picture where she was talking about minority owned business. Press an emoji if you saw that. That picture she put up over the weekend talking about minority owned business. You could put that picture right next to Jay-Z's picture at Tidal. I think that was 2011, 2012. Put them two pictures side to side and count how many niggas you see between the two. They're almost exactly alike. Don't tell me who you are. Show me who you are. You ain't got to tell me shit. Let me watch how you operate, nigga. You dig what I'm saying? So this is the guy who employs Fat Joe. Look it up. Who represents Fat Joe? Rock Nation. Artists don't get their own. You don't get to go to the BET Awards by BET, and you don't host the BET Awards by somebody saying, hey, I like you. Let me call you directly, and you're going to host the BET Awards. No. Your people reach out to they people. And if Jay-Z is so for the culture, how the fuck can you go around you got all these rappers on your list, and you put you out of all the people that you got that you represent, you give Fat Joe the job twice? You got Fat Joe doing CNN? Yes. What is this? What? It's the same play over and over and over again. In so many ways, we empower our own demise. The same way the Yamasee Wars, when them white folks offered them Cherokees some fucking fire water and some weapons, they turned on our black asses and we lost to them crackers. When you look at all them different wars, the tribal wars here in the Americas, every time we was kicking them white boys' ass, they went to some other nigga tribe down the street and gave them niggas some liquor and some guns for them niggas to turn on us. All around the world, same song, nigga. That's more than a song. That's life, brother. And so now we hear a Fat Joe. He's talking about Fat Joe's talking about in this most recent interview that in his music he lies 95% of the time. And I'm gonna say there is a thing called creative license. So, you artists do make things up. I'm not here begrudging Fat Joe the ability to do what most artists do, make things up, put extras on top of what they saying. But flat out lying? I don't know about that, Fat Joe. I don't know about that. Most songwriting from the originals that I know comes through an experience. And from that experience, they may flower it with extra additives, of course. Or they may combine 3 or 4 different experiences into a song that comes off as one person. I do that all the time in comedy. If I tell a story on stage, I may if some of my stories, most of my stories are 4 or 5 different people that I know that I've had personal interactions and experiences with, and I'll combine this part of the story with that experience with someone with a different experience with somebody else, with a different experience with a different person, different times in my life, but put it all into one story and make it seem as if it's one person. I do that all the time on stage when I create. So I'm not saying you don't every story you write is exactly about, but most originals, or all originals for the most part, they're writing from some level of experience. Or if it's not their personal experience, they're writing through vicarious experience. Like a friend, someone close to them, someone that they know. They're writing about what they've seen. Like we see this a lot in love music. When you listen to some of the greatest love songs, most of your artists most of your love music artists Them is the worst motherfuckers ever. They ain't never really been in love like that. Love is the hardest thing for them niggas to find. But they write the greatest love music because they've seen it and they may write about what they want to experience, what the ideal of love is, and they'll write towards that. So even then, it's not lying. You're writing towards something that you've seen vicariously work through other people, and you're putting what you wish on that. But flat out lying, that's what the vultures do. And unfortunately, most people out there are vultures. There's very few originals out there. Most artists are vultures. Most artists aren't original. They just kind of doing and trace around that. And true, 99.9% of the time, artists are who we do. They write towards they want what they want to hear. That's one way you can identify a vulture within the community, within our art. Say when they do talk, they only can talk through what somebody else has to say. And my thing is this: it's okay. Everybody's not going to be an original. I'm fine with that. But we as a people, when do we stop uplifting these vultures, black and non-black, and go back towards and appreciate and love the originals? We can listen to a nigga like Jay-Z steal everybody's fucking line and then still turn around and be like, he's the GOAT. Like, how the fuck are you the GOAT if you ain't right hardly goddamn one thing you said? The mother niggas who wrote it first, they're the GOATs. God damn it. It's like in a lot of ways with hip hop, we've lowered the bar. We used to didn't do that as a people. We didn't like people who sound like other people back in the day. We did not. I use this example all the time. The Barcades was a great band in the 70s and the 80s. But if you talk to somebody from that era, they're never going to uplift the Barcades as one of the great bands. Why? Because every hit that the Barcades had came on the heels of somebody else's song that sounded similar to it. They went when they did no freak what's that song uh doo, doo, doo. I'm drawing a blank to that song, Freak Show. Freak Show on the dance floor. That came after the Midas Touch by Midnight Star. Midnight Star released the Midas Touch, and then the Barcades turned around and flipped their version of the Midas Touch and turned it into um, No Parking on the Dance Floor. Great song, but all of their great stuff usually came after somebody else who sounded like that first. So the Barcades, because the listener at the time, we as a people were more in tune culturally with who we are, we wouldn't accept it. It'll be like, yeah, y'all funny, y'all cool, but y'all not original. A lot of people from the 70s had an issue with the dramatics. Me personally, I love the dramatics. But they had an issue with the dramatics because they were too much like the Temptations. Don't get me wrong, everybody wanted to be like the Temps. But the dramatics didn't do enough to separate themselves from the Temps early on in their career for a lot of people to not accept them. The dramatics are more so accepted by the Generation X people, the baby boomers, the later baby boomers coming up a little later, who maybe were too young to see the Temps when they were in their prime. But people who were around when the Temps were in their prime didn't accept the dramatics because they sounded too much like the Temps. That's just that was always a thing with us, and that's how it was in hip hop at one point. It used to be you couldn't bite off nobody, you couldn't sound like nobody. It used to be if you got outed as a studio gangster, that was the end of your career at one point. When did all that shit change? It's my conjecture that my point of view that when we changed, when we softened up, when we started allowing that bullshit to happen in house, that opened the door for hoe ass niggas like Fat Joe to come and steal our culture because the bar has already been lowered to accept that kind of nonsense and degeneracy. But I want to see what y'all think about that. I want to say what's up to my co-host Nikki. Say what you got to say, and if y'all want to say something, raise your hand. We'll bring you up, and yeah, let's talk about it.
Oh, Fat Joe, I don't know what to say about him. He is a culture vulture. He has the nerve to tell other people that they're stealing
Nikki,
music.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Is Nikki talking?
Oh, He can't hear me.
Is Nikki? Press an emoji if it's Nikki's talking.
Uh,
His face.
I'm gonna have to drop down and come back up because he can't hear me. So
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna pull some people.
I'm gonna boot you out and bring you
Okay.
back in because I can't hear
All
you.
right.
Um, yeah, I had to boot her out and I'm bring her back in. Um, let me see here. Let me hold on. Let me. All right. Where Nikki at? Um, well, before Nikki comes up, let me see here. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can add her back. Let me hold on one second. One second. One second. One second. One second. Let me add Nikki back to the chat. Yeah, there we go. All right, let me add her back. But in the meantime, my motherfucking cousin's on the stage. Oh, here's Nikki. Here's what I'm gonna get to you, cuzzo. Nikki back up in here. There we go. There we go. All right, Nikki, can you speak?
Yeah, you removed me from the space, so it wouldn't allow me. It wouldn't allow me to return. I think.
Ah, okay. I got you. I can hear you
But I'm gonna
now.
pull some people up. Oh, there's Great Black Shark is here. Let me pull him up.
Uh-huh.
I would love to hear him speak. He speaks so well.
We're gonna go with Alistair first, but before we go to Alistair, I wanted to see what you had to say.
Let them go ahead and go first. I'll speak
Okay,
after they speak. There's a reason why.
okay,
But
okay.
thank
Got
you
you,
so
got you.
much for bringing me back.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Alistair, cuzzo, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm chilling.
Oh, that's
Oh, I
good.
thought
That's
that
good.
was somebody. I thought you was a different Alistair. You ain't my cousin Alistair. You somebody else. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
You
a
got the
little
same name as your
surprised. I'm
cousin. You got it.
surprised that the Dramatics were being compared to the Temptations because there used to be an argument um that what's that group's name? Not the let's see, the OJ's were being compared to the Temptations because their voices kind of sound a little similar. Dennis, what's his name? Who was the lead? Who replaced David Ruffin?
Dennis Edwards.
Yeah, Dennis Edwards. There are a lot of people who were complaining um that one of the members of the OJ's kind of sounded like Dennis Edwards and everything else. So I was a little surprised about that. But there
Yeah,
also used to be, and
because
it used to be an argument too that Cool and the Gang and Earth, Wind and Fire sounded alike back then
uh-huh.
and
Yep.
everything.
That used to be the thing was the reason why people were resistant to the dramatics because the dramatics were a five singer band like the Temps. And
Okay.
they used similar dance moves. Like they was dressed and they would come out. There was a five person member group. And then you had of course the bass. Then you had LJ, you had the two-person lead with LJ Reynolds
Yeah.
in the high. So you had the vocally, they were styled similar to the Temptations. There were five members and they sang. So the Dramatics later on ended up getting their own identity as the '70s moved along. But even my dad used to always call them the New Temps,
Okay.
and that was like their name. But so it took them a long time. They had to come out with a string of hits for people to finally give them their space. That's
Right.
how heavy we used to be on it.
Okay. Yeah, because because there was this complaint that the lead singer of the OJ sounded more like Dennis Edwards of the Temptations, and then Cool and the Gang kind of copied off of Earth, Wind and Fire with some of their lyrics and voices and everything else. Back then, I mean, it created a nice little rivalry, but a tad bit of a tad bit of a negative rivalry, so to speak. Because I recall listening on YouTube that members of some of the former members of Earth, Wind and Fire. I forgot the guy's name. He used to complain about how the Cool in the Game would just go ahead and just pretend like we're us because they got a band and everything else. One of those singers of Cool in the Game was trying to sound like Philip Bailey and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right about that, man. But thanks for speaking. I'm gonna keep it moving on.
Yeah, I'll
Thanks for
keep it.
bringing that up.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, he's right. He's right. Like that used to be the standard. The standard was like, no, 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 no. You need to sound like you. You can't be sounding like this person. You can't be sounding like you could not get Black America's respect sounding like somebody else. He's right about Cool in the Game. When you go back, uh, a lot of their music was, especially in the mid 70s, they were right behind the Earth and Fire wave. And don't get me wrong, everybody was trying to catch Earth and Fire. I remember that was a conversation I had. One of the conversations I've had, one of the hundreds of conversations I've had with my father-in-law during his years with the Commodores. And he always talked about how like Earth and Fire was the standard. Nobody knew what Earth and Fire had some kind of special thing going on. No one quite understood what they had going on, but whatever it was cranking out hits. And he was like, so he said, he told me flat out, make no mistake about it. Everybody in the 70s, white and black, was trying to beat Earth and Fire. But the thing was, back then, you didn't beat people by sounding like them. You beat them by being maybe inspired by what they do and creating your own interpretation of that, not copying, because copying was a for sure way to basically kill your career off. Because if you couldn't separate yourself from your competition back then, you couldn't have a career. That used to be the standard we had as a people. What the fuck changed? Before what made it to where we can accept somebody like a Jay-Z sounding like everybody else before him? That was that was diametrically opposed to anything that we accepted in our culture before 1995. What happened? Um, who's next? Is it Black Shark?
Yes, great black shark.
Yes, sir.
Salute to you, brother Dewan B. Salute to the entire room. Can everybody hear me okay?
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon, great black shark. Can you hear me, great black shark?
Yeah, I can hear both of you just fine. Brother Dewan, man, I actually have a theory with that. I'm going to work backwards on a couple of things you said, and I'm glad that you put this space together and your opening diatribe was addressing all these many things. Working backwards with the question of how did we get to this point, I have a theory about that, and you can give me your insight on this. The Jay-Z's, and there are many others, but using him as a metaphor for the rest, I think what happened when we had the Jay-Z types to come along and the rest of the guys that were up under them that weren't the so-called chosen by the Leo Cohens and et cetera, they started to look at where they were being elevated to by those white men and said, you know what? If I can't beat them, join them. And they threw away the respect for the culture. They threw away worrying about what their legacy would be to future generations and say, hey, listen, if I'm going to get the bag, who cares? And that right there, in my opinion, that was the beginning of the rot of the culture as far as that aspect. And here's another thing that's important, too, regarding people like Jay-Z being considered the GOAT. I'll tell you one good way that we can spot the culture vultures that wear our skin. If you are on the level of a Jay-Z or Puffy, whoever you are, and you've got a label, okay, and you signed younger people to you, over time, if you're eating, you're supposed to feed your wolves, man. Why don't we see any of the younger people as prominent as you are? Now, if it's for a reason that they're not putting in the work, that's one thing. But as you go up, you're supposed to make sure your people are good, not just because of like how you want people to view you, but you're supposed to leave that legacy of saying, okay, this is what I built. This is who I paved the way for future generations. And I'm teaching them ownership. I'm showing them the pitfalls of the industry. So that's another way we can recognize the culture vultures among ourselves. And the last part, at Fat Joe, you know I got to get on Sloppy Joe. With him, you are so right because, see, this is something that I got to put this on us as black men as a collective, even though those of us that are in here don't engage in that behavior. When it comes to Fat Joe, man, here's the deal. If he looks around and see others of us and our culture accepting that, and we let the bar be lowered on the integrity and the standard, like you were mentioning earlier. You couldn't copy anybody to get respect. He's like, okay, if they allow this amongst themselves and I start hanging around a few people, then surely I can get away with it. And if you don't check things from the jump as the gatekeepers of a culture, you get what we have now. So it's not too late to turn things around, but it's going to require a shift in our mentality, starting with us as black men, where we're in ownership of anything. And that trickles down to the women and the children to say, listen, this is the standard that you set. When you own something, you don't let any and everybody else outside of the culture come in and start acting as if they own the place when you're a house guest. There's no other culture on the planet that we can name where any of us can walk into their culture and say, okay, you allowed me in. Now let's move your furniture around. Let's take your pictures off the wall. Let's remix these recipes in the kitchen. We can't do that. So with that said, brother, I'll yield and I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that. Yeah, man, that's how we are as a people. Like Sonny Rollins was a great jazz saxophonist, but to a lot of people from the bebop and from the hard bop era, he didn't separate himself enough from John Coltrane to really. And now he lived a lot longer, and people ended up coming around to Sonny Rollins. But when you go back and listen to music from the time, from the late '60s, most people are going to choose John Coltrane because Sonny Rollins came right in behind him. And just we as a people, we naturally, before we started reading their publications on our music, before their opinion started mattering musically, we always appreciated originality. Remember this: before them white folks, their media got infiltrated our hip hop music. They infiltrated our music space. Jay Z was around. Jay Z been around. Jay Z's been around longer than Nas. You know, he was around. He was around when the Cube came to the East Coast and worked with the Bomb Squad. Jay Z was around back then too. Jay Z was always around when we were making the choices on who was hot and who was not. He was there. We didn't choose the nigga. New York chose Nas. New York chose Biggie. New York chose a lot of people. America chose a lot of people when Jay Z was around. He's older than a lot of these niggas. That nigga old. That nigga old. That nigga old. Who allowed him to stay around that long? Because it's way talented rappers out there who, when the 2000s came around, I wanted to hear some more shit from Digital Underground. I wanted to hear some more Naughty by Nature in 2000. Nigga, I wanted some X Clan in 2000. They didn't give them to us. So who allowed this nigga to stay around? And all the other people that we loved, when all of them, we love. Tupac and Biggie wasn't the only people we loved before 1996. Can we tell the whole truth? Looking back, they always make it seem like it was just Tupac and Biggie dominating everything, and everyone. No, Tupac and Biggie were ones of many during the time. Now in 1996, they both had some hot shit, so that was their time. That was their year to shine. But they didn't. Tupac didn't shine any brighter in 1996 than Snoop did in 1994. Then Cube did in 1991. Then it was his year, of course. It was Biggie's year, of course. But Biggie didn't shine no brighter in 1996, 97 than Run DMC shined in 87. It was just his time. But them niggas were ones of many. Jay-Z was around then too. Nobody gave a fuck. A handful of people did. Hell, low quiet as kept. Nobody gave a fuck about what Jay-Z was doing in 98. Not as long as DMX was dropping that heat. Nobody really gave a fuck when the streets was choosing. Let's talk about history. When you talk about history, you got to go back to the time and place. You cannot analyze history from today's point of view. That's one thing. So I'll be talking shit about college because, college, in a lot of ways, college was a hustle. But if it's one thing I took away from college more than anything else, is the ability to discriminate useful from non-useful information. The ability to analyze subjects and time periods. Being a cultural anthropology minor. One thing I took away, I can't tell you one thing I was taught asked on the test. I can't tell you none of that shit. If I was asked to rewrite one of my papers or do one of my debates, I'd probably fail that motherfucker right now. But one thing I did take from that motherfucker is the ability to discriminate and discern useful from non-useful information, functional information, and how to take myself into a time and place to adequately understand history. You have to go to the time and place. And another thing you also have to know is culture changes every 20 to 25 years. So the culture that you're living in now is not the culture of 20, 25 years ago. In order to understand how things were going 20, 25 years ago, you had to put 2 feet down and understand the cultural aspects of the times. That's why my documentary is bigger than hip hop. I'm not just telling you niggas that to believe me because I've done all this value music research. No, we talk about the artists, we talk about the music, but we also talk about the culture of the time. Cannot adequately understand 1996 without knowing what the fuck the culture was in 1996. And the culture in 1996 was you better goddamn be original, and you better, and it's a lot of competition. Just because you number one, it don't mean you that far ahead of number 10. The only reason why you number one is because maybe it's a few more people agreed on your album. But the next 2 through 10 are artists that we all like. But it wasn't no downloads back then. I only got enough money for 2 albums. So I'm gonna buy your album and I'm gonna buy Outkast. And then I might have to wait a few more weeks, or I might have to go ahead and burn that DJ Quick album because I ain't got the money to. And so that's the only reason why DJ Quick ain't in the top 10. Because a lot of us just had to burn his shit because we had the money to get it. So it don't mean just because you number one, you that much better than what DJ Quick was doing at the time. It was just a very tough, dense music environment. And niggas weren't just listening to hip hop back then. Niggas spent time equally between hip hop and R&B. So the hip hop artists, when you're dealing with somebody like a Nas, when he go number one, he still's in competition with TLC, SWV, Babyface, nigga, yeah, Jodeci. Niggas still listening to Jodeci. Fuck out of here. Wasn't just no goddamn hip hop. Nigga, Jodeci dropped something. Motherfuckers in hip hop had some competition. Am I lying, y'all? It ain't like today. We had a more diverse music palette and less options to get music. So, and on top of that, let's go back to the mid 90s. If you crossed over mid 90s, early 90s, it was actually seen as a cornball because it was very understood in the 80s and the 90s. The only thing that's going to cross over to white folks is something that's watered down. They don't like us in our pure form. We used to understand that as a people in the early 90s. We understood that. MC Hammer took heat for going number one. Like, you know that, first of all, this nigga dancing, he must be a cornball because he's dancing and white people like it. That right there made us, even though MC Hammer went number one, that made a lot of niggas be cool on MC Hammer. Like, nah, nigga, it's only number one because they like it. And anything they like is naturally corny. We used to think like that. Remember, and press an emoji. And look, am I lying, y'all? Those of us who were around in 89, 90, 93, am I lying? If you went number one, we automatically thought you was a fucking cornball because white people liked you. You can't be that good if white people like you. We used to inherently think that way. Now, we look at somebody, oh man, they ain't do nothing because they ain't go number one. Like, I get Vlad talking that way because he's a vulture. I get Fat Joe talking that way, he's a vulture. But when did we start talking like that? Fuck out of here. Man, I got my man. I think Rashad was next, and then Willie, then Bo. I think Rashad. I think you. Go ahead, Nick. Who was it?
Yeah, it was Rashad, and then Racer Bo. It was going to be after him. I just wanted to
Go
add
ahead.
something. Now in this space, I am embarrassed. Jay-Z, for years, was my favorite rapper. I did not know that he was stealing lyrics. There's a lot that I did not understand until I start listening to you. So please forgive me for that. I'm not a coon.
Oh, no, no, it
But
sounds good.
but is it true that a lot of these people are chosen to be the face? They're chosen to be that artist. They don't have to have talent. That they just get their ideas from different people. They are the person who is chosen to be the star, no matter how much talent they do or don't have. Is that true?
That's very true, and to a point, that's always been true. Even going back to our golden years of music, it's really the people who get the push. Number one is decided by who gets the push, flat out. Back in the days, the record label have to decide to buy that billboard on Sunset Boulevard for you. They have to decide to put your album, all their promotional material. Remember back in the days when we used to walk into the record store and you may have like a life size photo of a particular artist, and or their new album is at the front of the record store when you walk in. All of that's push. And so to go number one to a point has always come down to payola, even back in our golden days of music. The difference is you used to still have an honest to God chance because the radio stations were independently owned. They weren't owned by these major corporate conglomerates, so they still had to stay in business. So yes, they took payola. Yes, they were influenced by the industry, but they still had to play music good enough to keep you listening. So that right there, that was the checkmate that wouldn't allow that could not allow the industry to just flood us with all industry push. Now, with the conglomerates owning the radio airwaves, all the means of distribution, and the Spotify and the iTunes, you got five companies that own all this shit. They can control from top to bottom. So there's no more checks and balances. And that's the difference between now and then. They used to have that check of the people who could just decide to tune out, and my radio station is going to go out of business. They're not worried about they're not worried about Hot 97 going out of business because Hot 97 also owns Clorox bleach. They also own so many other things that all these conglomerates have to do is shift money around, and they can permanently lose money on radio. That'll just be a write off for their other businesses that are making money hand over fist, and that's the difference. But go ahead.
Yeah, another thing, when it comes to people like Jay-Z and their power, what really turned me off about him was how he handled the when he got that football contract to do music with them, and it just seemed like he wasn't helping our people. um do you think that more people are going to start pulling back from their favorite rap artists due to human rights issues when it comes to black empowerment issues, or do you think people are going to just keep ignoring the issues at hand?
I think the people who want to stay ignorant are going to willfully be ignorant, and but the people who are about and right now and there's always going to be the majority of people are always going to be willfully ignorant. We always got to understand that the majority of people are just going to follow what the herd is doing. But those who are about something, they're going to start to open their eyes and see things and see it for what it is. Two things, two reasons. One, for the people who are just on their own waking up. Two, you got to understand there's a reason why Jay-Z, Beyonce, these people are elevated to the top. They are the so easiest to deflate, puffy. Like before they even got to where they got right now, their demise is baked in before they became as big as they got. Beyonce, all the footage of her admitting on camera to stealing music, all the video proof and video evidence we have of her taking dance moves from other people, songs from other people, all of the artists she stole music from and made them sign NDAs in order for them to receive royalties. Beyonce just flat out steal a song and then wait for you to sue. Then she'll pay you, but you got to sign an NDA so you can never talk about it. How she stifled careers like A. Marie. A. Marie was she took A. Marie's whole fucking style. Beyonce's first solo hit flopped. Then she turned around and saw what A. Marie was doing, took her whole style, then turned around, told the Soul Train Awards, BET Awards, Grammys, and all these other people, if you book her, you can't book me. Yeah. So when her demise, Beyonce's demise is already baked in the cake. So is Jay Z's. Jay Z, I add a motherfucker so you ignorant niggas can hear me. Lauren Hill said it first. You know what I mean? He's the styles that he stole from Jazzo to Memphis Bleak to State Property. I mean, we can go down the list. And this was all happening before Jay Z got famous. So they already chose poison. They oh we could take this nigga down like it's gonna be so goddamn easy versus if they choose someone like Andre 3000. How you gonna take him down? He's had nothing but good relationships with his women. All of his music is original. He didn't sample, and whatever the little he did, the little that was sampled was cleared. But his words are all originals. He didn't take nobody else's style. So if you elevate three stacks, you're gonna do like you did with Michael Jackson. You're gonna make something up. Like they had to make something up on Michael. Michael was the last one that was elevated without them pushing it all the way, without them having their demise already baked in the cake. They had to make something up about Michael. They're not gonna do that again. Usher, they got he's they wanted if they ever want to take Usher down, they got him. Usher was with he was dating Chili when he was a minor from TLC when he was a minor. He's his whole Justin Bieber, the whole story between Usher and Justin Bieber, that's gonna come out at some point. All right, just don't. Yeah, all right, yeah, that's gonna come out when they're ready to take him down. The people that they've elevated to the top over the last 20 years are all baked. Their demise is baked in the cake. You can't put Jill Scott to the top. What you gonna do? Yeah, she has a reputation of being a bitch to her people close to her. I've heard she could be a little bit direct. But outside of that, what you gonna do with her? What you gonna do with Erica Badu? Her baby daddies all get along famously. She has well-adjusted children. What are you gonna? You can't take her down. Her music, although she did take Erica Badu, she did sample a lot. Especially a lot of Roy Ayers stuff and a lot of Johnny Hammond Smith. Jill Scott, her musically, when you listen to her music, Jill Scott's music, it's a lot of her best music from Family Reunion. That was a song by the Escorts called "Look Over Your Shoulder." Jill Scott, there was a lot of samples used, but all those samples were cleared, so she didn't take from nobody. Nothing wrong with sampling, as long as the people you sampled are cleared and they make their money off of it. You can't take them down. So the people that are originals over the last 2 decades, we have plenty of originals. Raphael Sadiq, we got plenty. Anderson Paak, I heard from Anderson Paak that song "Anywhere." He had to pay so much in royalties for that song because of those references he made, but he cleared those references. He's an original. You're not going. They're not going. You know, you get some slip through the few that slip through the cracks. Kendrick Lamar, he was backed by TDE. The few black originals, they usually had a strong black network within them and behind them. TDE really pushed Kendrick to the top. But look at the last original hip hop class. What was that? 2012 when you had Meek Mill and all them come out. That was the last time we had any kind of somewhat original hip hop class. You get your Kendricks that come to the top, Nipsey. You get a few that kind of squeeze around J. Cole. You get a few, because there's always exceptions to the rule. But everyone else, the ones that you see blasted all over the place, man, their demise is baked in the cake. So whenever these white supremacists are ready to break their tools, and they always do, the people who don't want to let Beyonce and Jay-Z go are going to have to, just based on the truth of what they done musically. How many black female artists has Beyonce taken money off their plates because she wanted to be the queen bee? How many black female artists? I'm not gonna love somebody just because they created a goddamn song. What did you do? How did you affect the world you were in and the environment of music? I love music more than I love any one particular artist. Any one
Beyonce
artist.
didn't even want to see Kelly career go that far. If you pay close,
Right.
yeah, you could tell that she and her father, they kind of were like hindering Kelly's career from getting that far. She could only be so big, but she had to be several steps behind Beyonce. And
Right.
love me some Beyonce, but you know what? The more I hear about it, the more and the more on code. Well, I am on code, but the more on code I am when it comes to this music part of it, I have to tell the truth about it. I have to, and Beyonce has stolen a lot. Even though she's very talented, she hasn't done it honestly.
Yes, and that's the thing about us as a people. We've never had one. That's white people shit. One talented person. I always have a pantheon of talent, and whoever happens to bubble to the top is who bubbles to the top. Whitney Houston, yes, she had the backing of Clive Davis, but at the same time, Whitney still had competition from Shaka Khan. Didn't go nowhere. She was still around. Stephanie Mills, Vesta, Michelle A. You had singers. You had to beat them. They wouldn't have the luxury of suppressing anybody else's career. You just had to come out with hotter shit. Beyonce, Jay-Z, they can go and say Diddy, and it's already look what Diddy did to Ashanti. Like Ashanti, those are Ashanti's vocals that made J Lo's whole career. That was Ashanti singing, and then they turn around because of her relationship with Irv Gotti, not just but really Diddy, stifled that woman's career. Janet Jackson got taken out because of Nipplegate. Janet Jackson didn't even pull her own titty out. The white boy did.
Yeah, and
Janet
he was
Jackson,
praised while she was demonized.
right.
And he just got to walk away from it. That was the last time I listened to Justin Timberlake, 2004. I was done.
Beyonce and Jay-Z benefited from a bad era, an era that was purposely poisoned because all the talent got pushed to the side. And anybody that can come for either one of them's crown did not get play. And we as listeners were not allowed the choice to make a decision, Beyonce or this person, Beyonce or that person. All we had was fucking Beyonce if we wanted pop. And then when it came to the neo soul era, and I'm gonna get to you, Rashid, when it came to the neo soul era, what did they do? They gave us fucking John Legend and Alicia Keys to stifle the neo soul sound. We chose Erica Badu, Jill Scott, Anthony Hamilton, Raheem Devon, D'Angelo. That's who we wanted. They saw we was on that D'Angelo kick. They saw we like Carl Thomas. So they used Diddy to basically poison his own goddamn artist, Carl Thomas, and then gave us a Carl Thomas light John Legend. I remember John Legend first came out. I was like, who's this fake Carl Thomas sounding as camel looking nigga? Nigga look like a goddamn cow. All that whining and bad. Nigga, who the fuck is this? Then we loving Lauryn Hill, Jill Scott, Erica Badu. We got On and On popping. We listening to Can't Get in the Way of My Feeling. Then they come out with this Prince remake. I keep on falling. And it was a cool song, but it wasn't worth no 6 goddamn Grammys. Cool. I mean, where the fuck she come from winning all these Grammys? And why couldn't Jill Scott, Erica Badu, Blue Cantrell, these neo soul Jaguar right? We got a whole crop of new singers coming out that are soulful than a motherfucker. We got Maxwell on the male side, D'Angelo, Raheem Devon. We got Jaheim. We got these real soulful voices coming out. But John Legend and Alicia Keys get all the awards and recognition.
Alicia Keys pushed out India Arie. You remember she was out around the same time? And
All of them, the
India
whole
Arie was
class.
better than her.
She came to push out that whole class. Yeah. They were like, okay, yeah, these black folks they not picking up on that plastic R&B. We've been trying to make R&B plastic as fuck, but here come Erica Badu with On and On. God damn it, here she comes with this On and On shit. Now that begins Bill Jill Scott Jaguar that whole class of music. So they had to give us Alicia Keys, commercialize it, and then kill it. Music Soul Child, commercial. Let's bring in John Legend, commercialize it, and then kill it. Now John Legend sound like a white boy the last 15 years. Oh, fake ass Lionel Richie. But I know I kind of went on the rant. Nikki, you can close out what you gotta say, then we're gonna kick it to Rashad.
Oh my God, fake ass Lionel Richie. Yes. I don't have nothing else to say. You said it all. You told so much of the truth. I used to like John Legend, but he just don't have that we don't have any soul left in our music. People want to give it away. Some people make it so because they want to engage in interracial sexual access. And some people, they just want to just make money off of the industry, so they give away our culture. And we just don't have anything else. It may get to the point where we may have to make up something new. But
And
the
here's the
next,
and we have it. We have it. It's just we gotta understand it's just not getting played on the radio. It's still there. It is not getting any mainstream play. That's all. We gotta remember that.
yes, sir.
But go ahead, Rashad.
What's good, Dwan? What's good, Nikki? Um, Nikki, I do want to tell you thank you. I do appreciate you reposting my music Black. I thank you for reposting that for me. Um, I did want to make sure I did tap in. It was something that y'all said, especially when it comes to like Fat Joe and a lot of the old head rappers. What I noticed, especially with this younger generation, a lot of the reason they don't listen to what the old heads say is because they're noticing that they're selling out the culture, and they're seeing how they're break buck dancing or they're break dancing for a lot of these people who are vehemently anti-black, and they'll allow them to say these things. So if you're playing these games of, oh, I'm gonna let Fat Joe or whoever it is say nigga as many times as you want, or oh well, they grew up around black people so they can say it. The young folks are seeing that because the young folks are saying just because you cool with him, we not cool with him, and we see how people from that community are anti-black or they're doing trying to push laws or they're trying to gang up on us, etc. So just because you're cool with them, that don't mean we are, and we seeing how you're selling out the culture. So until they get that under wraps, until the older generation start actually snapping back or actually standing up, it's always going to be that divide between the younger artists and the old school hip hop artists, because the old school hip hop artists are saying that the younger generation don't want to listen to us, and the younger generation like, well, why should we listen to y'all if y'all are doing the things that the coons back in the day used to do, like all of the people who was around the civil rights movements, like the Al Sharptons and etc. Those people who start selling out, we're noticing y'all doing those same things. The only difference is it's in the realm of hip hop. Y'all are sitting out there selling out the culture. Y'all are going up here smiling with people who literally said they ain't gonna do anything for black folks. Y'all are sitting out here saying, well, it isn't just black people who made it. Hip hop is for everybody. And then when you listen to these other people saying, nah, hip hop is Latino or hip hop is Jamaican. So when young folks start seeing that you're selling out the culture and that you're not really caring about what's going on, that divide is going to continue to go on. And in my opinion, the only way that it can really get fixed or rectified is when a lot of these old folks, or and I ain't trying to sound ageist, or I think it would be considered ageist. I ain't trying to like knock talk down on the older generation like that, but until we have the younger generation who's getting more on code, until we start seeing more of their voices heard on a loudspeaker and the older generation start getting pushed to the side, we're going to continue to see our culture being sold out to the highest bidder.
Let me I appreciate that. But what we're dealing with right now is the same thing we were dealing with in the late 50s or the early 60s when bebop came around. When Max Roach, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie, when they were coming around with the bebop sound, um, John Coltrane, those guys, Charles Mingus, they weren't listening to Louis Armstrong because Louis Armstrong always had that big old smile. Even though Louis Armstrong was kind of doing some things underneath, behind the scenes, all they saw was this nigga skinning and grinning with white folks, and they was like, "Nigga, fuck you. These fuck them." That generation wasn't fucking with Count Basie and Duke Ellington because all they saw was them doing swing music for white folks. So bebop came around as a resistance form of music because partially because it didn't respect what the elders was doing. We've always had this generational divide because black people tend to be fairly militant when we're young, and then as we get older, start to become acclimated to the system, and then become olders and be all the way into the system. The same people who are all the way into the system right now were the same people supporting the Black Panthers 50 years ago. A lot of them. They've been broken and everything. So this is what young people got to understand is this: you can't wait on nobody. You just got to do it. You ain't no waiting. That's one thing you niggas. That's the only criticism I have that I say about the young generation. Ain't nobody gonna give you shit. You got to push niggas to the side. Like I'm a millennial. Like like Gen X didn't push the baby boomers to the side. That's why Gen X And when we look back on the last 100 years, we're going to see Generation X as a generation that spent the least amount of time in power because they allowed the baby boomers to stick around way too long. They wanted the baby boomers to give them an opportunity to let them in, and they didn't push them motherfuckers to the side. Generation X is one of the most loud talking this ass, not doing this ass generations we've ever had. Generation X is the generation that talked a lot of shit in the '80s with the hip hop, the resistance movement, and how we black and revolution, and with the African medallions. Now most of them niggas is that's the generation that's allowing Fat Joe in. That's a lot. That's the generation that gave us that fuckboy era of hip hop in the 2000s. Spend your money on hoes and clothes. That was some Gen X shit. You know what I mean? Baby boomers still in power, while Gen X spending their money on hoes and clothes. Gen X could have took over power in the 2000s. There was their time in the 2000s. They let them sorry ass baby boomers sit around waiting for the baby boomers to give them a chance. And what do we have now? We got old ass motherfucking Joe Biden in office. That nigga Joe Biden is older than a fucking baby boomer. And Generation X is saying, let's vote for Joe. Let's stay blue no matter who. So what you niggas gotta learn is you Generation Z and younger millennials is ain't nobody gonna give you shit. You gotta push motherfuckers out of power. And you do that by standing in your square, standing on truth, and standing on what's right. Because when you stand on what's right and you have principles, then you got the universe and you got God behind you. But if you want to stand on fuck shit like Generation X and some millennial, see us millennials, them niggas, yeah, we taking the shit over. And then we ain't gonna have power that long before Generation Z kick us out. And when Generation Z is ready to kick the millennials out, I'm gonna be the old nigga that embraces it. Because revolution is with the youth, because the energy is with the youth. And it's us that are older to guide and nurture and give guidance. But we should be giving guidance from experience, not from opinion. And that's the reason why so many of the young niggas don't respect the old niggas. Ain't did shit, but got all the goddamn words. So my advice to you, young brother, is ain't nobody gonna give you shit. Ain't nobody gonna get out your way. Ain't nobody gonna hand you power. You gotta take that shit. And that's just the way it is. And you got the power to. So understand that, all right? Just make sure you stay within truth and make sure you do it in love, a love of self and love of your people and love of us as a collective. And through that love, you're gonna have what you need. And that's what us millennials, that's what we got to keep on our side is the truth and love. And knock these motherfucking baby boomers out the way if Generation X won't. Um, but go ahead, Willie Dynamite. I know you've been waiting, my brother.
Peace, everybody. Y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear
All
you.
right, man. How's everybody doing? What's happening? I hate to say I told you so. So I guess I'll just say Fat Joe for last. You did, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of things you was talking about, Dwan. As far as brothers and sisters that's supposed to be prominent, basically, well, not even prominent, but just basically figureheads in the industry, doing other artists, black artists in particular, dirty. And and that's and really Puffy's not doing nothing new. This been going on actually since Barry Gordy. You know what I'm saying? As far as breaking up groups and isolating people, he took Smokey from the Miracles. You know what I'm saying? He took Diana Ross from the Supremes and broke that group up just because he was banging her, even though Florence Ballard was the lead singer and she's the one who started the group. And
I can't say I can't put that on Barry. I know that story intimately. I can't put that on Barry.
okay.
But go ahead.
And then same thing with the Jacksons. Jermaine was married to his daughter. He took creative control and copywritten the name Jackson 5, and everybody know that was Papa Joe's brainchild. They had to go flee over to Epic. You know what I'm saying? This has been going on as far as that. Um, so let's move on to Jay-Z, I guess. Jay-Z, yes, he's been a big problem. He definitely sold out the brothers and sisters who had a flourishing neighborhood in the downtown Park Slope area. I'm over here right now as we speak. I'm right down the block from the Barclay. Yeah, he definitely gentrified this neighborhood area. I'm talking about these brothers and sisters had property and homes that would have been up to the millions in value as we speak right now if he haven't made that move. And yeah, he messed Brooklyn up for Black Americans. But just one key thing when you look at these people, really just go to the beginning, and you'll see that a lot of stuff was just off with them from the jump. No, even when Jay Z entered the game, and you was 100% right. The one Jay Z been around, New York was not stamping him, and the reason was is that he wasn't outstanding amongst the bunch. When he was running around with original flavor and running around with Big Daddy Kane and doing that 2-time rapping stuff, he was really past, like, he's really considered outdated. That stuff kind of got stomped out with Das Effects and all of it, and then we moved on to the kind of the next one when Biggie came out. Biggie kind of just changed it up. Him and Nas, actually. And like you said, Nas was our champion. So when you understand about that, Jay Z already had dropped 2 albums in the city. Nobody still picked him up. Jay Z didn't get hot until he dropped Hawk Not Life Volume 2 with the Orphan Annie loop. That's when everybody.
And what year was that? What
That
year
would
was
have
that?
been 97, 98. And
Yep.
then the only reason why that happened, and then let me tell you something, that was actually him just catching lightning in the bottle. And the only reason why he was able to catch that lightning in the bottle, because you gotta understand, Pac just died, Biggie just died. And there's another thing that we also have to talk about that particular time gap. If you remember, and this is coming from the New York side, definitely. These white these arena owners, these club venues, they was gonna shut the whole hip hop industry down because they was going to use the excuse that it was too violent, and that it was too much of a policy and an insurance risk to be insuring hip hop acts at the time. And then if you notice, that's why Snoop Dogg, after the smoke cleared, Snoop Dogg and Puffy had to go on Steve Harvey's show, and they went on this East Coast West Coast peace campaign to open up their money again, because all of these venues was going to get shut down. No clubs was going to book them. No concert arenas was going to host them. Nothing. The white people with the money in the venues was going to completely shut it down and force all of these rappers into the chitlin circuit. So, and within that, musically, there was nothing of value coming out of hip hop at all. From maybe I about to say about from when what was that? What was the last with Machiavelli 7 Day Theory, and when that dropped by 96, 97, until Jay Z dropped the Hog Not Life Volume 2 with the Orphan Annie, and then he was able to fill that void that was missing, because even Puffy was still putting out music, but he didn't really put out no headbangers until what, Black Rob. So these were the things that was going on in hip hop that often don't get mentioned. And here's another thing. It's very ironic that now in this day and time, Fat Joe works for Jay Z. But how many of you know that during the late '90s and mid '90s, the Terror Squad, and Rockefeller had major beef. I'm talking about major beef. Jimmy's Cafe brawls, couple studio brawls, and it was definitely due to anti-black racism, definitely. And this is gonna be my last point in our land because I don't want to hog the stage. When you look at FBAs within the music industry, good, bad, or indifferent, one thing we do is we put other people on. Like even when you look at Cameron, he put on Jewels, he put on Jim Jones. When you look at when you look at all these other groups, we always make sure that we put somebody on to make sure that they get on. But when it comes to these people who are not of our lineage, the Busta Rhymeses, the Fat Joes, who have they put on? And then somebody say, well, he put on Big Pun and Remy Ma, but he didn't put on Remy Ma. Pun put Remy Ma on. He put on Pun, but once again, he was trying to fill a void that he couldn't fill as a Puerto Rican rapper, because the streets gravitated to Pun more than they did him. So that the same thing that applies to Jay-Z as far as the streets not stamping him. Remember, Fat Joe already put out 2 albums as well, and nobody gravitated to him till he actually did a cover with Big Pun over the deep cover instrumental, which was originally done by Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. So I'm just going to land on saying this, that all of these non-FBA acts, whether they be Hispanic, whether they be Latino, whether it be Caribbean, they all come in the game via through us. No matter who you look at, there's always a foundational Black American behind them somewhere. And I'm going to land on that. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Racer Ball.
That's it.
Um,
I do want to say one thing. A lot was done, But as far as to the point like of Smokey left the Miracles when he and his wife were. Cause remember, Smokey's wife was in the Miracles. People, the three men traveled on the road, but she was in the Miracles too, and they were going through a divorce. And Smokey had gotten promoted to be one of the presidents of Motown at the time. And then as far as like Diana goes, that whole situation with the Supremes was just all bad and toxic. Similar to Lionel Richie leaving the Commodores. It was just one of them environments to where so as I said, I can't put it all on Barry. Barry navigated it, but I can't put Barry as the cause of it because it was a lot more going on. Just based on what I know from people who worked at Motown at the time. Um, but the point still stands that he was making as far as usually it's still some kind of force behind our groups breaking up. And most of the time it's money, to tell you the truth. 99.9% of the time is money. And because black groups, they give enough money. If it's a 5-person group, they'll naturally give enough money for 3 people or 2 and then have people fight over it. And that's usually what it is versus a white group like Aerosmith or whatever. They'll get enough of a budget for everyone to be happy financially. When it comes to a black group, they'll give enough of a budget for 2 people or 1 person to be financially happy and 4 people to be struggling. And usually that happens not only directly with the label, but from the people funding the like with LaFace. LaFace was the front for was it not? It wasn't Arista. Who was the money behind LaFace? They were the ones that they'll make it to where they'll give the money to the black label, and but certainly not give enough for everybody. And then all you got to do is make sure you hire someone like a Pebbles. You hire somebody who you already know is kind of shady to begin with. Going back to Chess Records, Willie Dixon. Chess Records was white owned, but Willie Dixon was the shady Negro at Chess Records, and Chess Records Motown modeled itself after Chess Records. They'll usually have the put a tricky nigga in a specific position to where they know this person's shady. They knew, and that's they'll do. They don't need every Negro. They just need the right Negro at the right positions, and they understand that about us. And that's how the well gets poisoned. So his point definitely stands as far as uh, them going out their way to break up what we have put together. I don't know who's next. I think it's different, but go ahead, Nikki, to whoever's next.
It's different, and then I don't know if it was Miriam or Sir Major
It's me.
afterwards. Yes, ma'am. Okay,
He can
different
go
than
in front of me.
Miriam.
Miriam can go.
Okay, all right, and then different can go, and then it's Sir Major and then Miss Cece. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nikki. Thank you for that, beloved. How are you doing? Shout out to you, brother Dewan
Peace.
B. You're always giving doing these excellent spaces on needed things that need to be discussed. And shout out to the rest of the family in the room. Um, wow, much was said. Um, Going back to when we were saying how both Beyonce as well as JC, Beyonce, when she got into a whole turf war and um, the whole thing with her stealing lyrics and different things from different artists. You remember Carrie Hilson? I mean, they flat out had a whole verbal thing going, and then that's when Carrie put out, certain songs, and you can see where Beyonce got her styles from, also. And then the same thing as the Culture Vulture, Carly B did to another up and coming young black artist. She stole the whole red bottoms shoes from her, bloody shoes, whatever the heck. I never listened to this. I just didn't like it from jump. And you have all these culture vultures dipping and diving into, um, our mix. It's because they're fronted by these. You went through the whole list earlier of those type of men who back them, and they always put in the dancing and tapping. Um, Uncle Tom, so to speak, Sambo, so to speak, in order to bring forth all of their plans to underestimate and undermine and to grift off our community. Um, they've been on open record saying how Yeah, we know that's wrong. And they was like, well, would you have allowed such music in your own community? It's music, it's entertaining. I have to eat. I sent my children to school. I meant for someone to sit there and to straight up say that. Um, and didn't care who and what heard him because he was right on the Breakfast Club when he admitted to it. I can't think of the little white guy's name at the time right now. But yeah, for them to be allowed in and to do such things. And as you were saying, Brother Dewan B, when we do music, you had to be um, in the 80s and in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You had to have your own sound because if you were caught what we would call biting off another artist or musical groups music, you were dead. Street creds meant everything because we validated our own artists. It was not done through the studios or through the white execs. And you're right, they didn't have to have a Jimbo Django puppet master in place. Even when they were even doing back in James Brown and Ray Charles era, they had some, but those men stood on their 10 toes down and was like, "You better give me all my money, and I don't sign anything for you." You know, they would like straight up box over what was theirs, and they would tell the establishment what they wasn't going to do and get away with. And sometimes that wasn't popular, but they broke through a lot of doors doing that because they had their own royalties. They were able to create their own sounds. And then when you get into modern day, like now, these the youth wouldn't know originality if it bit them in their behinds. Not all, because you have some who are out here trying to do their own thing, but it's just so heavily sampled and nothing's done pretty much through instruments anymore. Because shout out to Andre the 3000, that CD he just did or album, however you want to word it, was so elevating, truly created something different, something he poured out of himself. And as you were saying, he's an originator. There's not much they could do to take someone like him down or someone like a Michael Jackson down. Things have to be fabricated and put upon them. So I'll yield my time and I'll just continue to listen and I'll request to come back up later. Thank you.
Most definitely, Miriam. Thank you for that. Yeah, yeah, you hit a good point saying that, like, a lot of the youth wouldn't be able to tell, and I never want to blame the youth because youth only know what we teach them. The youth grew up in an environment to where we accepted the bullshit. I remember, and I can say that with all integrity because I remember I was in high school. I was in high school in the '90s. I don't know about y'all, but I was born in '81. I was in high school when Biggie and Tupac was out, and I was in high school listening to all these samples. I was in high school when Hard Not Life dropped out. I was in college doing Jay Z's early prime, and I remember song for song. It took me a long time to even get into Jay Z because I remember thinking like Hard Not Life, that's Annie, huh? And then when I listened to one of my favorite Jay Z songs at the time was "Excuse Me, Miss," but okay, you took the Luther Vandross hook. You use the Eddie Murphy line, "Baby girl, why don't you treat me like animal?" And I used to when Jay Z was new, when these songs were first. I remember these songs when they first hit the radio. But I've always been listening to everything. So when Tupac and Biggie were hot in '96, I was just as much into Parliament and Earth and Fire as everybody else was Tupac and Biggie. So when I heard Biggie drop Hypnotize, I said, oh, that's Rise by Herb Alpert. I knew the sound. I was calling out these samples when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. So I've always had a foot in both sides. I just fucking love music. And so for me, I don't have like some people be asking, how do you know all this? How do you remember all this stuff about Jay Z? No, no, it's not that I'm calling anything back. I was chronicling this shit as it was happening. And I had an issue with it. I was like, hold on, hold on. If my daddy got to grow up with original music, I want to grow up with original music too. I'm not gonna accept this shit. I didn't accept it back then. Like when I was when I was laughing at my wife. My wife used to I met my wife in the seventh grade. My wife when we was friends in middle school, she used to call me the old man. We used to be in high school I be playing the drums for the band. I be like, here, we about to play this old sample shit. And she be like, you an old ass nigga. My wife was calling me that when I was 16. Because I've always seen this shit. And so I never accepted Jay-Z. Now don't get me wrong, I still like a lot of his music. Don't get me wrong. The Kingdom Come album, that was probably my favorite out of his albums. Um, but it's just one of the, I never accepted it because it's like, you know what? I want originality too. So for me personally, I was more into in early 2000s. I'm more into Common, like Water for Chocolate. You know what I mean? I'm more into that. I'm more into Badu, Music Soul Child. I was more into that. I was, you couldn't pay me to put uh fucking Nelly ahead of goddamn Common. Kanye, it wasn't gonna happen. You know what I mean? I remember when John Legend Moo Moo Ass came out. I'm like, man, if you don't get this authentic, this inauthentic, soul light skinned shit out of here, nigga. And no offense to light skinned niggas, but John Legend made light skinned nigga soul music. It just wasn't there. So, man, we gotta have standards when it comes to this shit, bruh. And that's why for a long time I wouldn't say much about Jay Z because I know how much Jay Z means to people. I still don't say much about Beyonce right now because I know how much Beyonce means to people. I see her new movie just dropped, and I'm seeing all the Beyonce fans. They're reliving heaven again. They're paying to go to see a movie after overpaying to see the concert. I get it. You know what I mean? So because I do love my people. I'm not just gonna be. I don't want to be that old bitter nigga that's just sitting around. Oh, Beyonce ain't shit. Now y'all can go ahead and have a little bullshit ass movie. But when time comes out to talk about Beyonce, I'm gonna talk about her because I have an issue with the overall greatness of Black society being suppressed for one person. I don't like when white people do it for Elvis. I don't like when Black people do it for Jay-Z. I don't like suppressing the overall greatness of our talent, the breadth of our talent, so Beyonce can be number one. No, if Beyonce's number one, let her be number one with all the other Black women who are talented getting an opportunity too. Let the number one be a true number one. I'm not going to accept your number one record sales or they sold this many albums. Yeah, at the expense of how many Black women? At the expense of how many Black artists? Jay Z, and you suppressed all them niggas. Now you giving us Fat Joe? How the fuck is Fat Joe the face of any goddamn thing? Like Ludacris ain't walking around here. Like Too Short ain't Easy E ain't not Easy ain't walking around here. Hey, if we saw Easy E, I'd run. But as if DJ Quick ain't walking around here. As if Method and Red ain't walking around here. I mean, on 1,500 hands, how many black artists deserve a spot over Fat motherfucking Joe? All right.
It sounded like he was trying to call on the next person. I think his phone rang. So I'm gonna let different go. Go ahead and speak different.
All right. Well, the only thing I gotta say is it kind of ties into what y'all talking about, but the main thing is when it comes to music, especially for my generation, a lot of it plays around this whole tough guy facade thing. It got to the point where it got so bad that it did affect the music because that's why when it comes to drill music, that's why it's like it stuck around so long because of that. But the silver lining is it's starting to fade away a little bit because of it's starting to fade away with the new generation. They starting to get back more into like the funk stuff, like what Thundercat and all them doing. So it is a silver lining to it, but a lot of that stuff did play a part in it. That's why it's no balance between the R&B and hip hop no more. Cause it used to be a balance, like because it was a big balance, but now it's not. Now it's all drill music and just try to kill each other and all that bullshit. But a lot of that do play a part in that. So like So like that's the main thing about it is like it's the main point I wanted to get across is that it's starting to fade off and it's starting to go away.
Most definitely, most definitely. I see us. We got Sincere up here. I don't know who's next. Um, Cece
Sir Major, are you still there? Sir Major, are you there? Okay, Sincere Love is next.
and Cece left. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Sincere.
Peace, peace. What's going on, family? How y'all doing?
All right,
Peace.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been sitting here listening for a minute, man. So many points I wanted to make. Of course, I don't remember all of them, but one thing that I do want to say, one thing I do want to put out there, really, um, as a person who is a Jay Z fan, you know what I'm saying? I do respect Jay Z as a lyricist and all of that. He is one of my favorite MCs, right? But the thing that I want to put out there for the family is, in spite of that, we have to have the emotional maturity to be able to understand why what Dwan B is doing is absolutely necessary. Because regardless to how I personally feel about Jay Z's music, now Jay Z and Jay Z's music, those are two different things. Let's be clear. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not the type of person that just because I'm a fan of somebody's music, I give them a pass for all of the bullshit that they got on their belt. You know what I'm saying? Like people who know me know and understand that Nas is my favorite MC, always been my favorite MC. But I got YouTube broadcasts and Instagram posts going back 4 or 5 years criticizing Nas about certain shit that I seen him doing that I didn't appreciate. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to compartmentalize those things. That's the thing I kind of want to put out there for people. Like what Dwan B is doing to me when I hear him speaking about Jay Z, the thing that I'm getting the most is that we have allowed the system, the industry, the powers that be to set the standards in our community and in our culture. And that's what the problem with a person like Jay Z is. It's not about, you know what I'm saying, how you feel about whichever album or whatever the case may be, but the fact that was it a meritocracy that allowed you to get to the position that you in, or was it manufactured? You know what I'm saying? It's just like recently when Lenny Kravitz came out talking about how BT and other black entities never really celebrated him, um, in spite of all the things that he's done throughout his career. And me and Nike was talking about it this past week on the broadcast, and I was saying, yo, the thing is, we have these white owned entities dictating to us what black culture is. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not like they were putting Lenny Kravitz in a box. They're putting black society in a box. And they're saying, no, this is who you are, nigga. This is what you like. You know what I'm saying? This is who you admire. This is who you celebrate. You know what I mean? And leaving all of these other people out because, we're diverse people. Everybody don't just listen to rap music. Black people listen to all type of shit. We invented all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have a artist like Lenny Kravitz that, all over the world killing shit, and you have so-called black media that's not putting no type of spotlight on it, then you understand what that's about. And that's the same dynamic that we see with the elevation of people like Jay Z's and the Fat Joes and etc. But I just wanted to put that out there for the people who might be fans of Jay Z's and they might be a little bit in their feelings and their emotions about some of the things that they're hearing. You got to be able to put that to the side and understand what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? I land right there.
Yeah, it is about who and what white society who they want to push to have be our artists. And then that's how you get the sexy reds, because who on earth, I've never seen a pregnant rapper walking around barefoot with her butt and stomach hanging out like that. And that is definitely not being pushed by foundational black
And
Americans. That would
barefoot.
have to be.
And think about that imagery, Nikki. Barefoot and pregnant is the complaint that white men have about white women. That's not really that's not a barefoot and pregnant isn't one of our cultural slang terms. That's a white American cultural slang term from the white feminist movement. I'm not gonna be walking around barefoot and pregnant. That's something from them, and so they
So they
put their
told on
imagery onto a black
themselves.
woman. Yeah, they don't exactly. They told themselves. where that comes from. That's not one of our terms. That's one of theirs. And going back to what Sincere said about Lenny Kravitz, I'm glad you brought Lenny up because I've been meaning to talk about him the whole time we've been on here, but I forgot. Um, I will after I read what Lenny Kravitz said about the award shows, specifically just dealing with the award shows. We did drop the ball. We got to take that L we do because in the '90s, the Soul Train Awards were still run by us. The BET Awards, you know, that's us. Even though they came around after Bob Johnson, you didn't see when Bob Johnson owned BT, you didn't see much Lenny Kravitz represented on there at all, really. Um, he never was on the Image Awards. I used to watch all the Black Award shows. I never saw a Lenny Kravitz guitar solo on any of the award shows, and this is back when we owned them. So we did drop the ball on that because Lenny Kravitz was at his hottest when we still owned the award shows, our award shows. That's when he was at his hottest, and he wasn't represented. And sometimes we can do that culturally as a people. Yes, those white folks, yes, they do box us in a lot of ways, but also I remember when Lenny Kravitz was popular in the early '90s. I remember thinking he plays more of that, that white music. It wasn't really till I started learning later on in the night, as I started learning instruments, learning music for myself, that I learned that, oh no, that's not white music. That's our music too. And it would have gone a hell of a long way. Uh, I shouldn't have got that epiphany later on in life. I should have always had that knowledge because, there should have when we owned BET, uh, always been a space for Black alternative style music. They created space for ratchet music. We didn't ask for ratchet music, but they still created a space for it. We didn't necessarily ask them to create a BET After Dark, which was a great fucking program, by the way. It was when you're in your late teens, early 20s. When you're in your late teens to see a nigga swiping a credit card down a girl's fat ass, that's a great thing to see when you're 19 years old, like I was. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I disliked it, but what I'm saying is just as there was space for that, there was space to put out there and showcase Black artists that had more of an alternative sound. It's all of our sounds. Black radio, we didn't do the best job. They played "It Ain't Over Till It's Over" by Lenny Kravitz because they had more of a R&B feel to it. But that was basically the only Lenny Kravitz I remember hearing on anything Black growing up. And so, you know me, I like to talk about them, but I always have to bring it back to what can we do. That was one of the mistakes that we made. I'm not here to harp on it, but I am here to say as we move forward, we can allow and open up a space for those who do have that sound. Um, like this past Friday when I got back from Cabo, I got off my flight from Cabo San Lucas and went straight to Long Beach to see my man play guitar, Jarris Mosey, J-Mo, him and Charlie Burrell. Charlie, his music that he does with Tweet, his music he does with Raphael Sadiq and people, everyone knows it. J-Mo, he's won Grammys with Jasmine Sullivan, Anderson .Paak. He's written some of Anthony Hamilton's best music. "Give You the Best of Me" was one of the songs that was written by Jarris Mosey. But on guitar, he's very hippie, soulful hippie rock style on guitar. And every time I go see him play, it's a lot of Black people that are there to watch him play. He has an audience, but when it comes to his radio play, when it comes to what his music that's published, what they talk about, they basically stick to what he did with Lila James, Jill Scott, and that's good. But his own music is great too. But it doesn't necessarily fit in the Black box because it's very hippie style, guitar heavy. And because it's not in that box, we can tend to ignore this one of the greatest guitar players on the planet right now. We have him, you know. Thank and salute to Death Row Records, Aftermath, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre for tabbing J Mo to play the guitar live on them, on those Nate Dogg and all them. The one thing I will give the West Coast credit for, between DJ Quick, Snoop, and all them, the musicians that you hear from everywhere from Flying Lotus to Terrace Martin to Kamasi, these live artists that you hear that are revolutionizing live music, Thundercat, they got their start from West Coast hip hop, playing live hip hop. For Snoop, for DJ Quick, for Daz, Corrupt. We here in the West, we've kept a family relationship between the jazz and we've kept a good family relationship between the jazz and the funk and the hip hop out here on the West. You know what I mean? There's a symbiotic relationship between the jazz and hip hop out here. You know what I mean? And we have very alternative, like, it's funny when they talk about like the West Coast, they like to box us into just like gangster music. When we have Schoolboy Q, we have so much non-gangster live music, melodic, that's just beautiful, Ab soul. We have so many sounds coming out of LA. And but look what happens. LA radio, they box us in mostly because it's white owned and white controlled now. So if you ain't talking about no gangster shit, you don't get no play. That's some bullshit. So we gotta open up the conversation. When we had these music conversations, we can't just be like, man, hip hop, hip hop. No, nigga, hip hop is a subgenre of a subgenre. Our music shows gotta start talking about music. And within talking about music, of course, some people are gonna be more hip hop heavy. But I mean, we gotta start opening up space and opening up a place for the black artists that do more than hip hop. That's something that we gotta do. We can't wait on them to do it. Um, who's next?
His name is Town Biz. You can go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself, Town Biz. Are you there? Okay,
Hey,
go ahead.
how you doing? Yeah, I come from a generation where, the radio station would give you time to put your tape in the tape deck so you can record the music. That's how broke I was at the time. So that's how I got all my music, between that and my dad. But I wanted to segue back into Beyonce. Now, I really don't talk about Beyonce. I'm not her biggest fan. But when you out and people always out there yip yapping and jaw jacking about Beyonce and she's the greatest and everything, I always would kind of, intervene, and I would throw my 2 cents in to kind of ruffle the feathers. And I would just tell them straight up, the person that benefited from Amy Winehouse passing, then was Beyonce, because Amy Winehouse was giving it to Beyonce. And I mean, first, she was a Jewish woman. She had that old school R&B, um, you know, rhythm to her. And, she had $1 million of whiteness backing her up. And Beyonce was having, at that time, she was having some problems. I believe that Amy Winehouse like won Record of the Year. But Beyonce was having a tough time. But once Amy Winehouse kind of, passed away, it was a go for Beyonce. She was up next, and I believe that she was the biggest beneficiary of Amy Winehouse passing on. That's all I gotta say. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Amy Winehouse was white, so she wasn't really in the same lane as Beyonce. The white artists are always gonna like do the black artists, like Taylor Swift right now.
Yeah.
As far as sales go, they got the fast lane to number one. But yeah, I do what you're saying as far as Amy Winehouse passing away. But yeah, Beyonce benefited from whoever didn't die, she suppressed.
Yep.
And so Beyonce is just somebody who just, she's this the shit that she did is gonna come out, and I'm not gonna defend her the same way I'm not defending Diddy. You know what I mean? I'm never going. I don't. I'm not here. Like when you do bad by black people, I don't believe in uplifting one black person who's who's done so much to so many. Like they didn't spare any black people on their way to the top. So may you get the energy you put out. That's the kind of person I am. Whatever energy you put out, you get. Someone like an Erica Badu, she's put out nothing but love. So may that I'll defend Erica Badu, you know, to the 10th degree. Hell, I didn't even like when people in the new black media went at Erica Badu. Calm the fuck down. She ain't did nothing to nobody. She ain't perfect, but I ain't about to use this woman as no goddamn example or nothing. Ain't none of us perfect, but she ain't done nothing. Nah, you ain't no 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 no. The black people who ain't done nothing to harm other black people, I'm leave them the fuck alone. Now if they doing something to hurt black people, then put them on Front Street, call them out. But if they ain't done nothing to hurt black people, leave them the fuck alone. Cause there's too many niggas out here harming black people. We could spend the next 15 years going in on black people who are out here to harm other black people. We ain't got time to go at those who aren't, you know. And when I look at a person like Diddy, Jay Z, Beyonce, their rise to the top cost a lot of black people. Suge Knight, and I love my West Coast. But truth is the truth. I'm from LA, nigga. I'm in the hood right now. I still live in Black LA. I ain't never left Black LA. I spent my whole fucking life living within a few blocks of either Crenshaw or Slauson. That's how South Central I am. I've always lived within a few blocks of either Crenshaw Boulevard or Slauson. Always my whole life. From day one. Or Western. I'm a ass nigga. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like LA perfect. All that degeneracy that Death Row Records pushed. I'm not with that. And Suge Knight did a lot of good things. He made a lot of artists get paid. He was pushing to unionize. He was pushing to get distribution. It was a lot of good things Suge Knight had planned and wanted to do and was being a part of doing. But I can't look past him was going into the nightclubs, seeing somebody he didn't like and having his goons jump him for no fucking reason. Him bullying people coming in to make music, and you over there making them eat dog food and shooting at people. No, 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 no. You harm black people. I don't fuck with you. I don't give a fuck where you from. I don't give a fuck what city you from. I don't give a fuck if you FBA, non-FBA, white, or motherfucking Martian. You harm black people on a societal level, and you have a reputation of taking more than giving. I don't fuck with you, and you need to be called out because they don't never fuck. They always get their blueprint on how to fuck us over by watching one of us do it first. Then they be like, that's how you do it. Okay, they ain't, white people ain't smart. Like we be thinking these niggas are smart. They're not smart. This whole them taking our music from us, that came after they commissioned Harvard University to do a study on us. They had to study our music for years and put together a fucking white paper report by this country's most well-resourced university to figure out how to take our music from us. These motherfuckers ain't smart. They use their universities, and then they use niggas as guinea pigs. And then they figure it out. That's what happens. So we got to start one. If I see a consistent pattern of a nigga being the main thing in the way between them stealing from us and us, we got to torpedo these niggas because they've never been able to do it all on their own. Let's think about this shit. Just those of us, most of us in here are very smart. We know our history. Name one time one time they've been able to do it on their own without our help. They couldn't win World War II without us. A war between Europeans. The fuck out of here. It's always us. They couldn't win the West without us, the Buffalo Soldiers. They couldn't win Puerto Rico without us, the Battle of San Juan. Rough Riders didn't do shit. That was the Buffalo Soldiers. Fuck out of here. Every motherfucking time they win, we give them the blueprint. And then you got a nigga named Jay-Z who stole the name The Blueprint from another album that was named The Blueprint by KRS-One. Giving them the blueprint, that's the blueprint 2.1 was. Nigga, let me show you niggas a blueprint on how to get these niggas infatuated with somebody. Get them praising me. I'm gonna call myself the God. I'm gonna call myself the GOAT. It's gonna make them suspend all belief and thought. And then once I show you this blueprint, you can now you come along and you can now you know how to slide in a Drake. You know how to slide in all these other people because the nigga gave you the blueprint on steal. All these niggas will go ahead. As long as it makes the song good enough, they'll forget that you stole every line from it. Now here come Drake, a super non-original. Now they trying to say he's the greatest of all time. Well, Jay-Z created an environment for Drake to exist. If the standard was still originality and diversity within your music and skill, Drake wouldn't have had the environment to where he ever could have even gone number one. Let's think about that for a second. Go ahead, Black Shark. I see you got your hand up.
Man, I wanted to touch on the point that you made earlier too about every one of them that's in the industry from amongst our people having their day to get their comeuppance because you and I both know, especially since you worked around people in the industry, you know, I have people that have worked around folks in the industry and my family as well. They keep what's called an uh-oh folder on you. So if you're the person that's got the coke habit, you're the person that, hey, your weakness is white women or whatever the case may be. They keep that in their back pocket for when those chosen individuals get out of line and be like, okay, you sure you gonna buck? Bet, no problem. In fact, the business, there's even talk that, hey, the reason why all the stuff is coming out about Puffy, I can't confirm it, but a lot of people are like, well, who did he piss off? Because you've been doing some of these things that they're alleging. So we never know. He could have pissed somebody off, and that might have had a hand in that as well. And going back to the point about Jay-Z, a lot of the people that are from New York, everybody's going to remember this name. This brother was one of my favorites. It's arguable. It's arguable. We'll never know, but it's arguable that if Big L had lived, Jay-Z might not be where he is today. Big L was cold with it, man. I mean, for those of you that don't know who that brother was, go look up some of his stuff and just take a listen. And I mean, so we just got to put the truth out there. And like you said, when it comes to like taking power and gatekeeping, the younger generation, I'm so glad that you gave them those words of encouragement. If you see something that's not right, if you see people that are not holding the culture up to the standard that it should be, don't wait for them to step out the way. You step up boldly and say, nah, your time is up. We not having that no more. This is not how we want to be represented, because at the end of the day, it's all about the legacy that you leave behind and the generation coming after you. I think all of us, no matter what we do, we should keep in mind, like, how do we want to leave this in condition for the next group coming behind us to take it over? Do we want them to step into an empowered position, or do we want them to always be wrestling and trying to get control of ownership? And with that said, my brother, I'll land and thank you for
Yes,
this
sir.
space. And I got to run. Peace.
Yes, sir. And this goes back to young brother Rashad. I see you sitting here. And if one of y'all want to speak, grab the mic, let you speak. You got to understand, y'all. Sports is an allegory, an analogy for how they run society, and sports is strategy. It's bigger than stats and all the shit that they try to give you. It's a bigger game than that. What they did was they have archetypes that they use through all forms of entertainment, acting, music, sports. And it was an interesting thing that happened when LeBron James became to the top 20 years ago. They were on one hand killing off the alpha male archetype. They had to kill off Iverson and Kobe. Starting with neutering how they dress, NBA dress code. Then they had this whole thing: no more solo ball, no more one-on-one ball, no more taking the other taking your destiny by its reins and willing your way to where you want to go. There was this new form of basketball that they were bringing in with the LeBron James style. Everybody come together and have a fun party. Everybody get on the same team. You don't have to defeat your foes. You join up with your foes and create super teams to beat lesser than opponents. And we're going to focus on the stats and not what you did to contribute. We're not going to require you to step up and to become an alpha and take over. We're just going to, if it looks good, it's good enough. That's what was brought in with the whole LeBron James style leadership through sports. And so what it did was, for you niggas that are under 30, kind of put into your mindset, for those who are trained, and most black men are trained on how to maneuver within black society through sports. That's why you have Stephen A. Smith and all these niggas up there talking. They're telling you how to operate without telling you how to operate. And I saw this shit when I coached basketball. And it's part of the reason why I stopped coaching basketball. I remember around 2008, 2007, I remember one time I had this one kid. He was like, this was like a junior high team. So in junior high, kids be like 5'4", 5'5", 5'6". This kid was like 6 feet in junior high, my center. And I kept running plays to him and trying to get him to score. And he kept passing the ball. And I went and cussed his little ass out. This is back when you still cuss kids out and not get in trouble. I went and cussed that little big head little motherfucker out. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Nigga, dominate. And he said something. He said, I don't want to dominate because I'll be selfish. I want to pass and get my teammates involved. And I sat and looked. I was like, that's LeBron. They play use basketball as a time to take over. There's a time to blend in with the team. There's a time that winning is going to require you to get a rebound, not shoot a shot. There's times that winning is going to require you to dive on the floor and get a loose ball. Winning comes in many different forms of aspects, many different aspects, and you have to be willing to put your game on the line in all aspects in order to win the game. If you just make it about points, rebounds, and assists, that's not enough to win the game. Those just glory stats. They don't really mean anything when it comes to actually winning a game. And I would teach these philosophies to my children. And
Uh,
I use with the band I use on a team. And so what they did though, when they elevated LeBron James to the top with all these bullshit ass stats, they basically started teaching the younger generation that you don't have to do it all on your own. Somebody's coming to help. And if everything doesn't go your way, that's an excuse for you not winning. Because what do they say if LeBron James doesn't win a championship? Well, he doesn't have enough help. And now you got niggas in their 50s saying that shit. That's the problem I have. I kind of get the kids. Y'all was raising this shit. But you got 55-year-old niggas with great chin hairs talking like this. They get enough help. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. You make a way anyway. And so the propaganda, the way they've been nurturing and naturing black male society over the last 20 years was somebody's gonna help you. If it looks good on paper, that's good enough. And as long as you look like you did something, you're fine. And you don't necessarily have to be a leader that's going to pull people up and make them rise to greatness if they don't. That's what we have. And I realized that when I was coaching, when that boy would not shoot the basketball, and when he was telling me he's going to get his teammates involved. I said, this social engineering shit works fast and it's working right now. Why did I go on this long ass goddamn rant? I went on that long rant is to show you how we're behaving as men. You know, when you hear people talk about these different people that they call leaders, niggas still looking for leadership. I need a leader instead of leading their goddamn self. When it comes to our music, you dealing with artists who can go around now in society. The number one artist is Jay-Z of this century, and he's popularized stealing and not being original and teaming up with other people when they're hot. And then when they're done, leave them behind. Jay-Z and LeBron James are the same fucking thing. Let's go team up with who's hot. And when they're done, we're gonna drop them and team up with the next thing that's hot. We're not gonna make it about the substance of your lyrics, Jay-Z. We're gonna make it about album sales. You know what I mean? When the fuck did black people give a fuck about album sales? We've always inherently known album sales are bullshit. And now what do we have? Niggas that's focused on album sales and how things look. We can't take everything that they give us. And now look what we got. We got Jay-Z, the so-called god of hip hop, pushing Fat Joe out there to lie to us. And it's still our motherfucking culture. We gotta watch and gatekeep which niggas they put out front. What are they teaching us beyond the surface level? Because human beings learn through the power of suggestion, not explicit learning. Most of our learning comes through suggestion, through archetypes, through storylines, through what we see and not what's being shown and not told. It's a lot of shit that we got to correct. And Nikki brought up something earlier about, going to start to separate from these people. Yes, some of us will, but most of us are going to be forced to separate with these people when the true stories about how they operate come out. All these niggas got dirt. I don't know if you was looking at them. I could put up I could put it up right now in my profile picture now. I was actually in Cleveland when LeBron made his return for the first time as a member of the Miami Heat. It was 12 years ago this weekend. I was looking through my Facebook stories, and I got the pictures. I had one of the kids I used to coach played on the Cavs that year, and so I was in Cleveland that year after LeBron left, and I got to hear from the staff and former teammates what really was going on versus what was being reported in the news. I was like, this nigga ain't shit. And it always is that way. The people that they put out front, they got all the tea in the world on their ass. They just collecting receipts. And when it comes time to pull a plug, a lot of you niggas who have faith in these people that white folks put out front are gonna be real mad. So my only thing is my point of view on that is that that's actually a good thing, because we got to stop putting faith in who the fuck white people put out there, and one, go back to having faith in ourselves. We should never have faith in and love for any celebrity more than we have for our own motherfucking self. All the love you have for Beyonce and Jay-Z, you should have for yourself between your own two ears. That's where it should be times 10. That's where it should be, first of all. It shouldn't be on anybody outside of us. But if it is going to be on any individual outside of us, make sure somebody that the group elevated. We elevated Muhammad Ali. We elevated Marvin Gaye. We elevated Earth, Wind and Fire. We elevated Ice Cube. We elevated Nas. Nas was our choice. And he still ain't, he got his little fuck shit he does, like Sincere was alluding to. But musically, he ain't let us down. You know what I mean? The people we tend to elevate generally don't let us down. The people that we put out front. But when was the last time we put somebody out front? We got to go back to that shit. I see we got some more speakers, and if you want to speak, raise your hand. Nikki, go ahead and say what you got to say, Miss Nikki, and then Miss G, come on up here too if you got time. But
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
just
Nikki. Then
invited
the
her
next
up,
person.
Miss G. You know you can't come in here and not speak now, unless she could be on the phone or she could be gone to get her pumpkin
I
spice
cannot hear
latte.
Nikki. Can y'all hear her?
Ah,
Can y'all hear Nikki?
let me
I
drop
can't hear
down.
her.
Y'all gonna be mad if I start speaking. I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers.
Hey,
Wait
Nikki, if
just
you
a
could
minute. Wait,
drop down
D-
and come back up because I can't hear you.
Ellis, wait a
I
minute. I'm
don't
gonna
want to
be right
boot you
back
out like I
up.
did the last time, Nikki. I fucked up. So drop down, Nikki, and then I'm just gonna remove from co-host. All right, and then I'm going to bring you back up because yeah, some shit going on with this. All right, I got you back up here. You've been invited. All right, cool. All right, you back. I hear you
Yeah,
now.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I invited Miss G. The second I saw her in the space, I said she must be busy out getting her pumpkin spice latte, and that's why she trying to act like she too good to come up and speak to us. But we're gonna go ahead and let Ellis speak for a minute. We normally, because I know that you're just gonna really say a lot of good things. I already know that about you, Miss G. So we're just gonna let Ellis say what he has to say and get done, and we're gonna let you speak, Miss G. Okay? If you don't mind, can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah. How you
Go
guys
ahead.
doing today? So, just real briefly, not that I disagree with what the brother was saying. I really agree with him, but and not to plug, I'm running for office. Don't have no background or anything, but one of the biggest problems that I've had running for office with no, big party backing or no big donor backings.
It sounds like you in the matrix, my
Give you the
brother.
time.
I don't know if you got turned. I don't know if you're on Bluetooth, but whatever it is, it sounds like you got a lot going on behind you.
Can you hear me now?
Nah, there's some other stuff going on. I don't know if you talking on a walkie-talkie.
No, I'm on my phone.
No,
That's
there's something's
strange.
wrong with this space because I keep trying to mute myself and I keep unmuting.
Yeah, basically what I'm saying is a lot of our people don't even participate in politics, man. And then we get mad when they put these leaders in front of us. But unless we get the backing of the people, we're never going to be able to get in front of anybody. You see what I mean? And the only people who's going to be able to put people in front of us are going to be the special interests, the big donors, the corporations. And I'm out here in the grassroots talking to people individually. A lot of brothers ain't even registered to vote, and that's no excuse, especially in California. I'm an ex-felon. I was in jail 12 years, and I'm out running for office. So a lot of brothers don't even know that they can vote. So that's just my devil's advocate is that we have to start participating and learning how to play the game so that we can get on the field. And thank you, brothers and sisters.
All right. Only thing I gotta say to that is most Americans don't vote. Just check the voting records. The overwhelming majority of Americans, we gotta stop playing the woe is me as far as a group of people. Most Americans don't participate in the political process. The overwhelming majority don't. So you gotta go in America, and that's by design because that's how America works. They don't want the populace to be politically savvy. So it's on those running for office to make sure they find the people who are engaged. Because I remember growing up, I remember only reason why I don't buy is that we're any extra less politically savvy than others. I grew up with a mom that was always down at Crenshaw High School when Councilman Nate Holton was holding his Tuesday meetings, and there was a lot of black people. My aunt Mabel. I live in here where I live right now. I go to some of my district meetings. We in there. It's the same about the same percentage of black people as anybody else. The overwhelming majority of black people of Americans in general do not at all participate. So if you're running for office, just get to those who are. You want to make sure you get out there and canvass your local districts, find out who's the bona fide people who are engaged, and give them something to work with because we do need to become more politically engaged. It's not being an excuse saying that American society isn't. We definitely should be more politically engaged, but we live in a country that don't give a fuck about politics outside of MSNBC News and riling people up for anger and shit. But yeah, but San Diego people in San Diego, I guess, follow that brother. I don't know what he's about, so I can't endorse him or not endorse him. But find your local district and where your people are, and holler at them. We got Nikki, but Miss G's up here. Go ahead, Miss G.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I was literally sitting down there working. I swear on God. But of course, thank you for the space and everybody else that's in the building. But with the whole Fat Joe, we already know what time that is, and the fact that we keeping a heat on his ass, he didn't got most of us blocked. But that's still not gonna stop the conversation because they have a bigger amplifier, to put out this messaging. Is our job to stay on the bastard. But yeah, that's all I got to say to that. And going back to and with your documentary between you and what Tariq is doing, we should have pull-ups, if we want to use that term, pull-up, or like I guess viewings across the whole entire country, just showing these documentaries and amplifying our messaging, forcing it into our school systems. A lot of times people say political positions, it might be politics. We got a lot of people in political seats, they weaponize everything. But when we create outlets that actually give the true history of our plight, or like we start laying the law, we can control that messaging. So I think we just got to start supporting more of like what we do as a collective. And then when we get to those political seats, we got to hold people accountable. You got 50 billion people that's in office. You got 50 billion people that go and vote. You got non-voters too, but the fact is I didn't even see a lot of Asian people in political spots, but they still got policies and get recognition all over the place. And that's because they have a backing. We don't. So, and we just got to know that position, and then we have to uh, fight in that position. That's what we're fighting for reparations for right now. So, but that's all I had to say for the most part. I was gonna keep listening, but I don't think like us running for office, 50 billion people have done that, and like a lot of people get flipped in those positions. We don't want them to think that we just gonna only focus there because they always raise the bar when we get into those positions any damn way. We get there and then you got to be this or you got to be that. It's not about
And
that.
let's just tell
Yep.
the truth, Miss G. Let's tell the truth. Even if they get in office with the most greatest, wellest intent, when that money start getting thrown that way, motherfuckers is human. And until we have a society that can compete and big bank take little bank, no matter who we get in the office, we ain't gonna be able to keep them if we can't keep money behind them and everything that we have going on. People are only human. We be expecting people to get into politics and turn into St. James. No, motherfucker. First off, 85% of the people running for politics, they already corrupt in some kind of goddamn way. The minute you see how that political arena work, you gotta be a scandalous motherfucker to even want to work in that environment. And there's nothing wrong with scandalous people. You need, and we all gotta live our own lives. But 85% of the people attracted to politics, that's a very degenerate field of to work in. Politics. There's very few things more degenerate than a motherfucking politician. I done seen hoes that's bigger saints than them. And so you're already dealing with 80% of the time, 85% of the time, you're dealing with a degenerate to begin with. When you're dealing with a politician. But we got to understand that if we don't have the finance and the financial structure to keep money behind that politician, they're going to go where the money is. We have to be realistic, black people. We can run all the black people we want. Run them, run them, run them, run them. Run them. If we ain't got the overall money nor interest to use our money in that way, then yeah, they're going to go the way they go. We got to understand politics. We got to, as a people, got to understand the goddamn politics. I had a discussion last week, and y'all saw it on YouTube. I'm not on YouTube, on Twitter. I spent my first day in Cabo San Lucas arguing with you niggas. I had to sit my phone down. I put a goddamn tweet up about Stevie Wonder and what he did, speaking up for reparations. And it was a whole bunch of niggas talking about well, why would he do it? Why would he say that to Biden? Like, 'cause Biden's the fucking president. Who else is he going to talk to? Moses? God damn, you can only go with the politics you have, not the politics you want. Niggas was really getting mad because he said something to Biden. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, just because he called on Biden to do something, I mean, he's a Biden supporter. And if he is a Biden supporter, he's doing what a Biden supporter is supposed to do. Assert political demands. He's an artist. His job, part of an artist's job is to raise awareness. Who better to raise awareness to an issue than somebody who has 100,000 people's ears open to them every time they open their goddamn mouth? And we had niggas over here on Twitter talking about well, that ain't enough. Fuck. Like, what the fuck? Talking about something with Biden, niggas is on my Twitter giving me a list of reasons as to why Biden ain't gonna do nothing. Well, if you feel that way, then shut the fuck up. Why are you talking to me? Like, goddamn, no politician wants to do anything. Take a goddamn, niggas need to just take a motherfucking political science course. And yes, I'm cussing because this shit pissed me off. For real, it did. Because I'm like, me, even though, yes, I'm black first, but yeah, no, I also took political science in college too. And I shouldn't have had to wait to college. Hell, what the shit I learned in political science in college could easily be taught to a 7th grader. But in America, they make your ass wait to college to take these classes as electives. Took political science, so I had to take some other shit that was harder. So when you take a general poli-sci class, you understand that nobody in government wants to do anything for you. White, black, red, Jewish, it don't matter. I don't fuck what your color is. Ain't nobody in politics doing shit for you. Politics moves off money. And not only does it move off money, it moves slowly. The three branches of governments are created so nothing changes. That's the whole point of having 3 branches of government, to keep everything the same. So in order to move the needle, it takes money and it takes a long concerted effort. And that effort is done in between the trenches, meaning not on voting day. Voting day is actually the fucking break. Because as a matter of fact, I got money on all you motherfuckers running. So it's almost damn near inconsequential who get in it. For the people who really pay politics, it's almost inconsequential as to who wins the motherfucking seat, because I'm covered either way. That's what politics is. And you had niggas arguing with Stevie Wonder because he liked Joe Biden. It's a lot of shit we got to grow up on. We got to grow the fuck up in a lot of ways. And I thought that shit was sad, seeing how many black people didn't even understand that, politics doesn't happen on voting day. The most anyone like an artist like him can do is publicly raise awareness to potentially move the needle. And no, the needle might not get moved on the next election. The needle might not get moved for the next 6 elections. But you keep pushing, nigga. That's some shit that we gotta fix that shit. Certain things we just gotta learn how the system work, how the game work, and play the game as to how the rules are written, not by what we taught in Twitter Spaces and on fucking MSNBC. Go to the rule book. You ain't gotta listen to these people. Go to the rule book. The rule book. Go to the Constitution. Learn that bitch. Take a basic political science 101 class. You don't even have to go to college. Them hoes is offered on YouTube now. Poli Sci 101. Do enough to get a C minus, and let's start playing the game that way. I know that was a whole nother rant on some other shit, but I want to reset the room. Nikki, you know what's going on. You can reset it. If you want to speak on this music, I want to get back to talking about music. I'm gonna be on here for like another 30 minutes or so. So if you want to speak, please put your hands up now, because I want you guys' opinion on Fat Joe. I want y'all to see what's going on. I want to talk to y'all about, what can we do, you know, to call the people who aren't part of the culture, call them out, and to make sure that
Yeah,
they stay on the outs. But go ahead, Miss Nikki.
but we've made, and I apologize for cutting you off. We've made it so clear to Fat Joe. I've seen people on Twitter. He's blocked everybody. He's blocked all of us. He keeps saying that he made the phrase "make it rain." People have made it clear to him that that came from the Black American hip hop strip scene, and he keeps repeating the same lie and lies about things. So I do feel like we have made great stride by coming at him on Twitter, but we've got to do more. People who have positions within the media, the mainstream media, Black people, they've got to call him out on his, but I guess we can't expect them to because they're paid shills. So I feel like we've got to do more, and we need more energy. We need more people to put forth the muscle to get him to close his big fat lying mouth, because he's trying to change history. He's trying to, and he you notice it's the Latinos in general, right? Latinos in
Right.
general, they're starting to add to programs and starting to add little comments into the
Ages too now.
yeah, saying that they created things that we created. It's like a very um demonic effort to have us erased. So we have to just stay on their asses, and that's about all I have to say about that.
You're
I'm
right
going to
about
get
that. I want to piggyback on that 1 second on what you just
yeah.
said. Um, we have to stop that. We got Fat Joe coming in with these lies. That's why I'm going at Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Okay, I'm going at who paying you, boy. Fat Joe ain't smart enough to do this on his own. Who's paying him? That's why I'm going balls out with Jay-Z and everybody. Like, I don't care. I don't care if these people's sacred cow. That nigga paying him. So let's go with you, homie. And let's go to everybody involved with Fat Joe. You go same way you do a TV show. You don't. What do people do when they want a TV show canceled? They go with the sponsors, right? Right. That's how I'm looking at it. Let's
Right.
go at who's sponsoring Fat Joe. Who's not Fat Joe? Buster, you and Fat Joe are little friends. I'm going with you too. Oh, you are. If you're a rapper that you want to publicly co-sign Fat Joe, I'm going at you too. Like everybody, we going to the whole environment, yo. That's how we got to do it. It's enough of us. And then some people pick your favorite. Some people's favorite might be going at Jay-Z. I have a good time ribbing Jay-Z because his fans are fucking horrible usually. I ain't talking about the people who like his music. I'm talking about I ain't talking about y'all, the people who just love his music. Y'all different than the Jay-Z fuckboys. Y'all, and we all know the difference. Um, I kind of like going to them niggas. Why not? It's fun. Most of them niggas still think Obama would be a great president choice right now. So why not go at them kind of niggas? But you pick your favorite, but go at the whole environment. And then going thing I keep forgetting to mention, we've been here this whole time. I have not mentioned my documentary. I'm in the moment of filming episode 2 right now. The GoFundMe is on my website. My website link is in my bio. I need you guys' help. I'm filming. I've already started filming the next 2 installments. They're going to be on gospel, and because once we get into digging through the importance of gospel when it comes to our music and our culture, that's going to thwart anything anybody got to say about their contributions to our music. When you When I'm going at these people, we are going to the root. I'm not taking these niggas. I'm not going at these niggas on the beach. We're going into deep water. And if you wasn't at church with us, if you weren't fucking with us at church, you ain't got shit to do with our music. And I got a long episode coming y'all way to break that down. I already have some one of my guitarists I have in the documentary. He used to play with Kanye. He played with Jay-Z also. He played with Mario. I have some singers who sang in Ye's choir that are on the next episode. I got Kenneth Crouch, Andre Crouch's nephew. You know, comes from the gospel, but he's also been the music director for Lenny Kravitz, J Lo, so you can hear his perspective. I got who else I have on there so far? I got my old music mentor, Mark Scarborough. His father was Skip Scarborough, who wrote a lot of great hits from Don't Ask My Neighbor to Give You the Best That I Got by Anita Baker. I got a lot of like dope ass people who are heavy, heavy, heavy deep in the music. They've done music you've all heard before. You may not know their names, but you've heard all of their music. I got my man J Mo that's gonna be into this. He just won a Grammy last year with Jasmine Sullivan. He's down to be a part of this. I'm gonna be filming his part next week. I got um I got some people from the Burrell family, Kim Burrell, you know, that whole gospel legendary family. I got some members of that family. So we're going right to the church, and I'm showing you how the church has plays a part in all forms of music, especially hip hop, and some of the people that you know and love in hip hop now, how that music came from the church, not from no fucking Jamaican or no Latino. We proving this shit, but I can use your help because I do have some remote interviews I want to get done. Most of the people I'm interviewing are right here in LA, but I do got to travel. I do got to hit some interviews outside. So if y'all can please hit the GoFundMe, um, and you'll see I've already given updates here on Instagram. You've already seen me behind the camera. I already got proof. We already filming the next 2 episodes. I'm doing 2 episodes. And I'm filming both kind of at the same time. And that my goal is to have the next episode out by Black History Month. That's the goal. But the more you guys help me out on GoFundMe, the quicker I can get this shit out. So it ain't just a ragtag group of me and my partners. I can hire some people to put the shit out a little faster. You dig? So that episode is coming up. We would like to have it out in February. So if you can hit the GoFundMe, that'll be much, 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 much appreciated. It's on DwannB.com. All right. So that being said, Miss G, you have anything to say before we get to the next speaker? Nope, she's not there. So what's Curly? No, where the fuck your name is? You know, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm
Yeah,
high.
what's good?
Go
What's
ahead.
good? You hear me? Y'all can hear me?
I cannot hear the person. I cannot hear you. So what I'm gonna
Can
do
y'all hear me
is,
now?
since I can't hear you, I'm gonna remove you from speaker, and then what you can do is you can request to come right back up. I'm gonna invite you to speak. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna invite you to speak. Hit the accept button, then start speaking. Are you back? You good? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Can
Go
you hear
ahead.
me now?
I hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the initials are CR. That's my initials, and I represent Long Island, New York, Freeport. You know what I'm saying? That's like 25 miles from Brooklyn, Queens area. That's like the Brooklyn, Queens area, basically. I'm 53 years old, so I came into hip hop around 1979 when the Sugar Hill Gang and all them dropped, 78, 79. I grew up listening to Mr. Magic on
Did he leave or is that my phone? I heard
right
him
now.
say magic.
His phone rang.
Yeah,
I
my
think his
phone
phone,
ringing
Mr.
right
Brown.
now. Somebody calling me right
Okay, go
now.
ahead.
But yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
came into the hip hop game back in the late '70s. So I'm a real New York dude, and I'm telling you, Puerto Ricans didn't really bring nothing from Puerto Rican culture to hip hop. All the beats come from our culture, all the dances, the slang, the style of dress. So what are they talking about? You understand what I'm saying? Is is Tara here? All right.
You're right. I hear you. Yeah, they didn't. They just came in. They came into the party and had fun. Cool. But you don't get credit for creating it, homie.
I mean, I get them for contributing to the culture, but the Puerto Rican in the culture, that was like an anomaly. You understand what I'm saying?
Look, this is where I challenge the contribution part. If the contribution is okay, you paid your money to get into the party. Oh yeah, cool. I'll take that because it's actual tangible money. But if you just came in and started doing a bunch of old ass dances, is that a contribution?
And we got
I mean,
footage.
really.
So listen, real quick before I gotta go. One of my childhood idols, the Fat Boys. I used to love the Fat Boys. I was 15 in 1985. You know what I'm saying? I love the Fat Boys. The little movies, they had the little comedy shit going with it. Damon Cool Rock Wembley, the last living member of the Fat Boys. We were Facebook friends, and I was honored to be Facebook friends with him. Yo, on his page, he gonna put up, oh, nobody could deny Latinos' place in helping create hip hop. And I was like, and I confronted him on it. And he got mad and invited me to his private parts. So then I started posting a whole bunch of receipts from Twitter of the first Puerto Rican saying when they came in the game. You know, everybody knows that little clip. Yo, this nigga got mad. He waited a little while. Then he blocked me. Just like Fat Joe. Wembley sounds Caribbean. I asked him with that last name. I never heard a black American with the last name Wembley. Anybody ever heard that? Sounds
That
Caribbean, right?
nigga, that nigga sound like the sign nigga play tennis on a grass court.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So that
but yeah, nah.
definitely sounds Caribbean. But I gotta go. My peoples is here.
All right, man, have a good one.
All
Now you're
right.
right. Like, and, part of the reason why, like, I used to just, accept the contribution part. But here's the reason why I even am now starting to push back on the contribution part. If you come to the party, eat the chips, you know, they had them natural Jerry curls. Your mullet Jerry curl juices dripping on the dance floor, and you b-boying in 1983, 10 years after black people stopped b-boying. What did you contribute? You just had a good time. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even if you call that a contribution, you took pictures. Okay, black people call those family reunion photo albums. I'm sure I can go to Racer Bowl, Sage, anybody who grew up in New York at the time, and they can go to grandmama's apartment and pull out a photo album and get pictures. I'm sure that. We family. Like, okay, so what did you contribute? Contribute is okay. There's this thing going on, and you brought something that your presence that would not have been there without your presence. Well, they did contribute. The Puerto Rican women helped contribute niggas' lust for interracial sex. Well, I could say that. Well, they did. Niggas saw them Puerto Rican women and were wow. You know what I mean? They contributed that. But musically, like here's an example. Because I love music, man. I'm telling you. When I say black Americans, one I can say we created salsa. But if I say, okay, the black Americans' contribution to salsa, I can say, okay, before salsa, when tango music was around before salsa, the phrasings on the horns were more extended and they had different harmonies. And the phrasing was dun 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 versus when the black American horn sections came in and contributed to salsa, that gave them more of a staccato, more interesting, rapid of fire phrasing. They didn't phrase their horns like that before the black American contributed to their sound. So when I talk about the contribution, I can say, okay, before Black America, this was the standard. After Black America, that was the standard. That is a scholarly way to use the word contribution. I go back to scholarship, homie. You got to give me 3 points of references if you want me to believe your stance. When I was on the debate team, Santa Monica College, Cal State Northridge, if I wanted that motherfucking moderator to consider my point, I had to have 3 to 5 points of reference for every claim that I made. And if I can't give 3 to 5 points of references reference for every claim that I made, then my claim ain't shit. And that's the standard I put everybody else to. That's just to make it clear to everybody listening. I don't mean to be anal, but I am. I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but I can be. I don't give a fuck. That's the standard. If you can't give me 3 points of reference, don't bring it to me. And I'm not saying that to anyone who said anything in particular. I'm just speaking in general. This is speaking in general, not to anybody in the room. This is speaking in general. If somebody want to say a Puerto Rican brought something, I'm going to be like, okay, what did Kid Ray bring to lean on me? What did Kid Ray bring? You got to ask that. That motherfucker bought it. Think about it. Think about Nikki. What did Kid Ray bring? He had that bum ass suit. Then he
Not a
tried to steal
damn
from the
thing.
nigga. Remember, why did Kid Ray get his ass whooped? Because he tried to steal from a nigga. And then he said, I don't think I can make it. Then Mr. Clark said, you'll be dead in a year. And he walked off. But Lean on Me still would have been a dope ass movie without Kid Ray. You can't tell me that Kid Ray created Lean on Me. No, Kid Ray was a scene. And any motherfucker could have played Kid Ray. Matter of fact, you didn't even need a Puerto Rican to play that part. Kid Ray could have been played by a nigga. It could have been played by an old light skinned kid, some old Elder Barge ass nigga. Kid Ray could have been played by an Albie Shore ass nigga. Kid Ray could have been played by an extra dark mother. Kid Ray could have been played by anybody. They just happened to choose a Puerto Rican to play Kid Ray's part. A Puerto Rican happened to be in the club dancing on some nights we was mixing some music. That's not a fucking contribution. You was at the party. Dope. Next story. That's where I'm going with it now. Gloves off. Um, but whoever's next, I think it's no cap.
Yeah, what's going on, Dwan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's up? So I'm gonna say this: when it came down to me coming into hip hop, I came into hip hop with the Fat Boys back in the '80s. However, even though I got a late start, I do understand this. Man, the lie was ridiculous already with saying that Puerto Ricans created hip hop, but then it got kicked up a notch when they came to the West and Kid Frost tapped into it. I was like, that's some bullshit. First of all, the origins of banda and all of their music come out of polka. It come out of polka. They sound the same. Everything they was playing sound the same. So when it came down to the West Coast, a lot of these cats didn't even think that rapping in Spanish was possible. You know what I'm saying? That's all the way up and through to man, 88, 89. They were still like, not with it. You know what I'm saying? So it just got way too overboard, way ridiculous. And it is important to call this out. You share the link, I'ma push it. I'ma push that line.
Yes, sir. We gotta call it out. We gotta call it out because at the end of the day, if it is to be, it is up to me. It is up to us to do it. And going back, I wanna say something. I'm glad you said this, no cap. You said you weren't there. Here's another thing we gotta get off. You don't have to have been there to tell the story of hip hop. Think about this. Hip hop is the only genre of music that people say you have to have been there to tell the story. And if and no disrespect to brothers Sage and Willie Dynamite in here, two of the greatest New Yorkers I've ever come across. No disrespect to y'all. But if you niggas don't get off your motherfucking high horse in New York talking about some you had to be there, y'all wasn't there for none of them fucking beats y'all sampled. How about that? Niggas sampled every goddamn beat on earth. You weren't in the studio, nigga. So who the fuck are you to talk about it? You using the beats, you weren't there. Since when the fuck being there was a requirement? Huh? We don't say that with funk. We don't say that with disco. Disco was created in LA. The first goddamn hit out of rap was a disco sample. Hip hop. That was a disco song. Disco was created in LA. Nigga, you wasn't there. When the fuck did that become the standard? You had to be there. or somebody had to be a part of the first class to tell a story, especially when you're dealing with a subgenre of a subgenre. Let's make no mistake about it, black people. Hip hop rap is a subgenre of a subgenre. The genre is the blues. The subgenre is the rhythm of blues. The subgenre of that is the funk and disco. And behind that, you get the hip hop, nigga. So no, I don't have to have been there to understand the roots of a subgenre of a subgenre of a motherfucking subgenre. No, I don't.
Dwan, real
Because
quick.
if your form of music, hold on one second, let
All
me
right.
cook. If your form of music was all that special, you wouldn't need to sample every goddamn thing. Funk didn't sample shit. Disco didn't sample shit. Swing, bebop, hard bop, rock. They didn't sample shit. Created their own goddamn soundtrack. Hip hop, you did not create your own soundtrack. You mimicked what was laid before you at best. I mean, you sample what was laid before you, and then whatever original tunes came out of that were mimicking what came before you. It didn't start nothing new. It was a mimic of the all of the original sound was rhythm and blues bass, disco bass or funk bass, which is all rhythm and blues. All rap music, hip hop is rhythm and blues with somebody rapping instead of singing. That's all the fuck it is. It's not different than R&B. It hasn't done enough musically to distinguish itself from R&B. That's why you can have a song like Doggy Dog World and have the dramatics come in so goddamn smooth and play that song and Snoop rap over it because it's the same fucking music. That's why you can have um, Dr. Dre not only make a hit for motherfucking Eminem and 50 Cent in a year, but turn around and make a hit for Bilal and Tony Braxton. Because it's the same fucking music. So hip hop need to get off his fucking high horse about having to be there. Oh, you weren't there. Oh, I'm fuck all that, nigga. Everything y'all got is taken and stolen. Not now. I won't even say stolen. Sampled. It's not original. So no, the fuck, I don't have to have been there. And no, does anybody in this room, if somebody who understands black music, who understands the blues, who understands jazz, and they 16 years old, and they were born in motherfucking 2000, whatever the fuck age you need to be 16, I'm high, I can't tell right now. But if they adequately studied our music, they have the right to speak. They don't have to have been there. If you Black American and you understand our music at its essence, you have the right to speak. You do not have to have been there. And to all you New Yorkers who were there, nigga, you weren't there when the music you was spinning them records came from was made. So fuck your opinion too if you're gonna say fuck mine. You dig. Now, go ahead, brother. Finish off what you gotta say.
Yeah, you had touched on something earlier talking about the core of it. The core of it was the church. A lot of our music come from the church. A lot of our musicians, singers, songwriters come out of the church. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that was a valid point.
And in my next documentary, I'm proving that because I have some people behind some of all the music that all of you guys love. See, a lot of these motherfuckers, a lot of people, we got the white media has gotten everyone enamored with the star, the person you see out front. People don't understand that in that music studio, oftentimes the lead singer, the quote unquote star, the lead rapper, oftentimes they're the least responsible person in that room for the hit. Some songs are just a hit, no matter. That's why you can. That's why Rihanna can go number one. Them songs they be dropping on her, they're going number one no matter who sings it. So let's bring this person in here with minimal talent that has a star-like quality that we can sell and have her sing it. That's why she can go number one so many times. You know, the person that's why Drake can be number one. That's why Cardi B can be number one. All we gotta do is create a song, hit a certain formula, and then if it ain't a hit, all we gotta do is suppress everybody else and only play this shit for 3 weeks. And by the fourth week, them motherfuckers are gonna be loving it. I'll never forget when Views from the Six dropped. Go back to Twitter the week Views from the Six dropped with Drake. People were saying this album is terrible. This album sucks. Drake lost it. Drake done fell off. And then Kiki, Do You Love Me? With that old robotic sound that you niggas is used to hearing all the goddamn time. And then when that Kiki, Do You Love Me became like a little hook, and Twitter started, it became a joke for a while. And niggas on Twitter, it was funny. And then it went from Kiki, Do You Love Me, and people kind of laughing at how corny he is, to about 6 to 7 weeks after Views from the Six drop, niggas was saying this is the greatest album ever. That's how much they got niggas by the hooks mentally when it comes to this music game. I saw it happen in real time with Views from the Six. Saw it happen in real time with Cardi B's career. Who the fuck is this? The original tweets was, who the fuck is this reality rapper? What the fuck is going on? By the end of that summer, Cardi B was that bitch. All they had to do was keep the finger on number one. All they had to do was have them bot forms and pay Spotify and pay Tidal to push her shit to number one, put it in front of everybody's fucking face, play it on the every radio channel, on the hour, every hour, put all that fucking money behind it, buy all remaining units so it stays at number one. And after Cardi B, remember she got popular because Bodak Yellow hit what was it, like 8 weeks at number one or something like that? I remember by the third week, Cardi B was at number one. The first week, it was like, what the fuck is this? Second week was like, how's this happening? By the third week, it was like, that song is catchy. By the fourth week, it was like, oh, Cardi B is actually pretty good. By the fifth week, Cardi B was that bitch. And she's been that bitch ever since. That's how easily niggas is manipulated when it comes to this music. That's why I don't listen to none of these motherfuckers. I turn the music on for my goddamn self. I'll be at these concerts by myself, for myself. Like I told you, I was at a show this past Friday, fresh off the flight from Cabo San Lucas. Let me see who this new guitar nigga my boy J-Mo told me about. I saw this little young nigga on guitar, 16 years old. I forgot his name. I'm gonna get his name when I interview J-Mo. But this little nigga was 16 years old on guitar, playing in a 21 and over club, Speakeasy this past Friday night. And that nigga cold. Nigga, our music is in good shape. There's some good music getting produced out there. We just got to turn our attention off that mainstream. That mainstream ain't shit. But who's next?
Who's next? That will be She Means Business. She Means Business has been sitting here waiting for a while, so we'll go to her next. And then there will be Ishmael, and then I'm about to bring up John Horse. Go ahead, She Means Business.
Hey everybody. Thank you, Dwan B, for this space. I really was not going to say nothing, but I wanted to add something to what you were saying about the environment because that is so important. The reason why Fat Joe feels so comfortable and cocky telling these lies is because he knows he's backed by the establishment. He's a World Economic Forum puppet. And if anyone does not know
Right.
who the World Economic Forum is, please look into them, listen to the stuff that they talk about. And he was at the forum earlier this year. So that's why he's being paraded all around to tell these lies. And it is intentional and it goes towards our genocide and erasure. That's not a joke. Miss Giselle and Ishmael actually did a really great space yesterday about that. And we shared a lot of other things that are going on with our erasure because the thing is the mentality is we never created anything. We don't have a culture and anything that we did is for everybody. And they're doing that with all of our stuff, not just hip hop, our food, our music, our dances, our movies, anything that we have done, that's what they're doing. And so I wanted to speak to the environment part that Dwan B was talking about, because at this point, Fat Joe should be unwelcomed wherever he goes around us. We've done a good job of
Right.
doing that on online, but we got to do that in person. When J-Lo called herself using the N-word, them people in New York threw beans at her concert. We need to be on that type of time. He should be booed wherever he comes around us. He should not be welcome. And anybody who is supporting him should have have the same heat. So there was a call to action a few months ago during the BET Hip Hop Awards where people were going at BET, tagging the sponsors and letting them know that we don't appreciate them continuing to have him host and bringing him back to host when he has continued to lie and disrespect our people. And people need to also remember and go back and watch that verses that he did against Ja Rule, because he was very blatantly disrespectful towards Little Mo and Vita, and it was disgusting and completely uncalled for, and it definitely had racist undertones towards it. And when you look at that verses, you'll see what a joke he is, and you'll understand that this is all part of a bigger agenda. So us being on his ass and staying on his ass is really important and making this environment uncomfortable. So definitely going at the sponsors. When they didn't want I don't know if y'all remember this, but a couple years ago, they wanted to do a reality show on sororities. And them sorority people said, hell no, you will not do a show about deltas, AKs, nobody, none of our sororities will you do a reality show about it. And what they did is they went directly at the sponsors. That's what got that show stopped in its tracks. So I just wanted to add to that, but thank you for the space.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate that. That's a good way of putting it, going after sponsors. But go ahead, Nikki.
she means business. I wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying about that versus. I picked up specifically on Latinos who were in the building, giving each other nonverbals. They were giving each other fists and chest bumps, and they weren't giving the same amount of love to Black American artists as they were giving to each other. It's as if they had some type of communication, as if they were saying, "Hey, this is ours. We're taking over this genre." Another thing I just wanted to say to the room when it comes to Fat Joe, when it comes to me and respect of men in certain industries, I personally I'm big on swag. Fat Joe has zero swag. Just take a look at him in his pants. He looks like a little bitch. The way he wears his pants, I have no respect just for the way he looks. I could never respect him as an artist at all. At least Jay Z has some swag. Fat Joe has zero swag. He's not one of us. He deserves no respect at all. And I'll land. Ishmael, you're next. Let Dewan B go for a second because I know he has something else to say. I can tell that he has something to say, but after that, go ahead, Ishmael. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dewan B, if you can hear me.
Oh no, I was on mute. Um, I was on mute. Now I was gonna kick it on to the next person.
Ish, you
Okay.
got it, Ish.
Yeah. Peace to everybody in the room. Peace, Brother Dwan B. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for this room. I just wanted to come in here and kind of piggyback off a couple people, Brother Wilkins and Miss She Means Business, and a little bit about what you said in regards to the genres and the subgenres of hip hop. Or excuse me. That hip hop comes from, which is something that I've been trying to explain to people who don't understand things like music theory and music composition and the origins of creating genres of music, a multitude of which were created here by our people, genres of music that had never been seen. But you talked about the blues, and another thing that Brother Wilkins talked about was music coming from the church and the Negro spirituals, which is really the fundamental, the parent genre to all of these other genres and subgenres of music that we have, spanning all the way through blues, country, jazz, funk, disco, even EDM, go-go, and all that, and onward. But the Negro spiritual, one of the things about the Negro spiritual is that it also has a vibration, and it's a vibration indicative to our people specifically because it's about our experience as a people, which is what birthed these genres of music and other aspects of our culture, and that. No matter how much people like Fat Joe and all these other liars tried to emulate or assimilate into that, they just it doesn't hit the mark. Doesn't hit the mark because that's a energy and a vibration that you just have to have or you don't. But the other thing is the parametric frequency, like what you were talking about in mainstream music, this repetition of playing music that's low vibrational to get people acclimated to it, so that that's all they have, and that's what they become. Excuse me, I got a phone call, y'all. And that essentially desensitizes them, and over time they begin to just assimilate into mainstream culture of music, which is a lacking in the representation for Black Americans. Hip hop is ours. As you said, it comes from funk, disco, it comes from the blues, it comes from essentially the Negro spiritual, which is indicative to us, our people, it's ours. And a lot of this has to do with our genocide, people practicing ethnic erasure, wanting to take things away from us, because I think the conundrum for them is how are we able to create these things, do these things, and still have this experience as a people? That's something that folks who are in opposition to our well-being and collectivity still haven't been able to figure out. So I thank you for this room, and I thank you for what you're doing with your work. And it's bigger than hip hop, because it is. It's about our people. And I appreciate you. And I just remind folks to stay in high vibrations. Thank you for the space.
That reminder, I appreciate that. Stay in high vibration. I'm glad she said that, because that truly is the essence of our music. When you turn your radio off, you should leave feeling better. You know what I mean? You should leave feeling better. You know, even when the music is socially aware, you still feel there's something better that's on the way. That's something our music does. That's part of the spirituality within our music. And we also got to know that there's always this, and this is something I'm going to really introduce in my documentary. You're going to see there's always of our music represents nature. There's a duality in it. You know, there's always two things going on at once. We all understand the Negro spiritual part about it, but they very, very, very almost rarely, almost never talk about the free Black society part of music. Free Black societies always had chamber style music, violins, and orchestrations, and horns. That's why when a lot of your music, that's why our music really took off the way it did during the Great Migration from the South to the North. Because in the North, you always had between DC, Philadelphia, New York City, you had established Black communities that were always free and never enslaved. And in the combination of those two societies, is we've always had high society style music too. And that's the part that they don't like talking about right there. But that plays a piece of the part of the composition of our music. Why do you think Philadelphia music is so classy? Listen to some Philadelphia music. Go listen to Gamble and Huff. My favorite Patti LaBelle songs was her time with Gamble and Huff. The song Love Need Want You. Um that song, when you listen to that, when you listen to that orchestration, my nigga, come on now. You can't tell me that's not high society. When you listen to like the Stairway to Heaven by the OJs, when you listen to Harold Melvin and the
Barry
Bulldogs
White.
and that, now Barry White's LA. Hold on, let me quit. Barry White's LA. That's a different point. I'm on Philly right now. I'm on Philly. In Philly, you have there's always a society. Philadelphia. If you look at the history of Philadelphia, they've always had a large segment of the city that was Black and never enslaved. And so when we, during the Great Migration, moved up to Philly, we created some of the classiest, most beautiful, elegant, tuxedo wearing ass music ever known to man. And so we got to know that our conversation is very, 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 very deep. It's much more deep than they make it to seem. Then when you get to the LA scene, that's where a lot of your migration came from Texas and Louisiana to LA. And so out of LA, you get some of the classiest music. You get Roy Ayers. You get it took LA for Miles Davis to release to release his album Birth of the Cool. That's where you get disco, that's where you get the Barry White sound. LA is where the music opens up. LA is the home of rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues does not exist without the city of Los Angeles. LA invested in the record labels, was the early progenitors of rhythm and blues, not only rhythm and blues record labels, but rhythm and blues based radio stations. And out of rhythm and blues, you get rock and roll. But all of that comes from the church. But there's still a symbiotic relationship between the church and the blues, because the father of the blues is Thomas Dorsey. But what was Thomas Dorsey before he became the father of gospel music? What was Thomas Dorsey before he became the father of gospel music? He was a blues musician. So Thomas Dorsey took what he was learned from the blues and took it to the
And
church.
styling too.
That's and that's why you've always had this relationship between the church and secular music, because that's how it started. And it's always been that way. And every time we release a new genre of music, it always comes from somebody rooted in the church. The brothers down out of Chicago and Detroit that were the first class of house musicians and house producers, they all grew up in church. The disco people grew up in church. The funk musicians grew up in church. The jazz musicians grew up in church. The one common denominator is growing up in church. And the one aberration to that, there are a few aberrations to that. One of them being the Jackson Five, because they were Jehovah's Witness. They didn't grow up in church, but they grew up in the blues. Joe Jackson had them as they were a blues band. That's what Joe Jackson framed Michael Jackson, and that's why Michael Jackson could sing "Who's Loving You" so well, because Joe Jackson. I had a conversation every now and again. I hit up Taj Jackson. The last time I talked to Taj, that's we talked about how much the blues meant. It still means to his father Tito, and how much Joe brought the family up on the blues. So either way it goes, when it comes to every great group that's innovated or done anything to move our sound forward, they were all rooted in church or the blues. And I'm going to prove that to you on my next installment of It's Bigger Than Hip Hop, the Black American Music Family Tree. I got so much goddamn information. This might be a two-part installment. It might have to be because, yeah, I got some of the who's who in gospel that have made some of the who's who music you've heard. Although you may not have heard of them, you most definitely heard of all these motherfuckers' music that I'm bringing in this documentary. All right. So I know I'm gonna want to wind down in the next 20 minutes because I'm going live with Dr. Randy Short on my YouTube channel at 4 o'clock. Me and Dr. Short are going live. We're gonna be talking about some politics. So I'm gonna have to give my voice a little bit of a rest. So I'm winding down to the next 15, 20 minutes, but I do want to hear what everybody got to say. So if everybody can keep their comments to 2 minutes or less, I know I'm long-winded, but hell, it's my room. So of course I could be long-winded. You can't. Ha ha. I'm just playing. But for real though, keep it to 2 minutes or less.
I love hearing you speak, Dwan B. You're not long winded.
I just okay, cool. I appreciate hearing that. I appreciate that. So yeah, comment to us. If you can keep your comment to 2 minutes or less. If it gets past 2 minutes, you're gonna hear me jump in very politely and be like, hey, yeah, you're right though. Yeah, you're right to the motherfucker. Yeah, cool, cool, cool. And then I'm gonna kindly mute you and then move on to the next because I do gotta get up out of here. But I do want to hear you speak, all right? So whoever's next.
His name is John Horace. He's been waiting the longest, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's up? Nah, yeah, you absolutely right though about like the about gospel being the root of our music. The just the aspect of just the feelings that you get from gospel. Gospel is extremely powerful. Just understanding, the different I always say that if you want to understand a lot of hoodoo and root work, a lot of that is within the gospel music too. Just how it makes you feel. But I think what we should do for like hip hop, I think we need to, as a group, we need to start going back underground with a lot of our music. I think we kind of just got way too heavy into the corporate sector. I think we just need to just take a lot of our creations back underground. Just
Quick
just how it
question.
used to be.
Quick question when you said that. Do you mean for the artist or for the listener?
For the listener, to be honest, I
Yeah.
think, because understand this, as Black people, we have the power. A lot of these corporations and stuff like that, they understand that we pretty much, we make the ticket hot, we make the card hot. So whatever we say yes to, you know what I'm saying, that's what everybody gravitates to. All we got to do is just turn our backs on the machine. If we turn our backs on the machine, all these other people, you know what I'm saying, they gonna do the same thing. Right now, I mean, hell, we already in the process of doing it when it comes to voting. You know, we could do it with a lot of this other stuff too, especially when it comes to this music. We definitely need to do it when it comes to the stuff that we see in the media and within the music. So I just feel like, you know, for the artists too, I think the artists, you know, I mean, this is a good time too, because if you're really good at what you do, you just go underground with it and people are going to gravitate towards it. You know, I mean, for me, I still listen to a lot of old music like D'Angelo and things like that too. So like if people really want to hear like good music, you know, just listen to D'Angelo's, you know, Brown Sugar. I think it's one of the best albums I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yes, there's plenty of options out there on the table for the people like me. You know, you listen to what you listen to. So many eras of good music, and there's still people making great music. Like the man Terrace Martin, he's dropped I think like 6 albums this year so far, and I liked all of them. And he has a Christmas album that's dropping. He dropped one album with his father who passed away, just basically him playing some jazz over a lot of his father's music, drum licks, and he brought in a lot of other top level jazz musicians. He dropped another one this past Friday. He did with his uncle. He dropped an album 2 months ago with Alex Isley. I left my heart in Ladera, and as an LA nigga, I love that album because shit, Ladera, that's where my wife was raised, and that's the neighborhood I was raised. I was raised down the street from Ladera. I was raised around good black people. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
raised around, I was raised in a beautiful,
Speaking of
raised in
that
a
too,
very,
I
very.
heard
Hold on one second.
I
Hold on one
peeped
second.
that one dude
Hold
you
on.
was
Hold on.
oh,
Hold on.
okay.
Hold on. Hold on. I'll let you speak. Um, I was raised in a beautiful community. That's how I feel about black people. I was raised between the Crenshaw district and View Park. You know what I mean? Working class black folks. Yeah, yeah. I was down the street from the jungles. I saw 3 people get shot and killed in front of me by the age of 10. That's why real LA niggas like me, you don't hear us going around talking about glorifying the gang life because we saw what it really did. It be them niggas that moved to LA talking about that shit, or niggas live on the outskirts of the city. You grew up in the belly of the beast like I did, then you know that ain't shit to glorify, man. That shit really had effects on us. Having your house have a drive-by on. But yeah, my house was hit by a drive-by a couple times because I lived next door to a Crip in the Blood neighborhood. But the other 99% of the time, it was all good. You know what I mean? You had your moments of trauma. Like I heard people get murdered in the liquor store that was behind my elementary school while I'm taking the math test and had to deal with that trauma. But yeah, that's because I grew up in Reagan's war zone. Reagan and Nixon wanted to create a war on black people, and I just happened to grow up in the middle of that in South Central LA while that was going on. You know what I mean? I still can't get mad at my people. That was a war put on us. But even in the midst of all that chaos, man, it was a whole lot of love in the Crenshaw district, man. I'm telling you, whole lot of love in View Park, Ladera Heights. You know what I mean? LA's a loving. You see a black man in LA, that's how I know if you a real nigga or not. I see a black man in LA, I'm gonna look up and I'm gonna nod my head, and he gonna nod his head. It's gonna be a mutual moment of admiration. That's how we get down in the city, on the real side of the city. I can't speak for them niggas that live in the valley and them people who move here. Y'all people that move here be corrupting our fucking values. I swear to God. But for those of us who was born and raised here, man, it's nothing but love. It's respect. It's mutual admiration. Yeah, we had gangster rap, but let me tell you something. At the same time, gangster rap, Nipsey Hussle, I used to buy his albums. He used to sell them on the corner of Slauson and Overhill, right in front of Simply Wholesome. And that's the left turn I got to make when I went to live with my parents. When I lived with my parents, I had to make that left off of Slauson on the Overhill. And Nipsey would always be there selling his CDs. And you know who else was selling CDs? My man Kamasi Washington and Terrace Martin, two of the two of the forebearers of jazz now. And Nipsey was making his money on Crenshaw on 60th, while on Crenshaw on 43rd, Kamasi, Thundercat, Anderson Paak, Terrace Martin, Flying Lotus, these world class musicians who are now selling out stadiums around the world playing Black American improvisational music. In the case of Flying Lotus, EDM, Ab Soul. These cats was right down the street. Anderson Paak creating music. So the same streets that created them gangsters created world class musicians. J Mo, Jarris Mosey. Told you I was in Long Beach. He from Long Beach. Prince, when J Mo was in high school, Prince used to send a limo to Long Beach Poly High School to pick J Mo up and jam with him all night, and then send J Mo back to school directly from Prince's house the next day. That's the city I grew up in. You know what I mean? So don't let these crackers get it twisted. Don't go around thinking everything is all bad and we just these oh woe is me as people. Nah, man. In the midst of that chaos, we love also. I'm here to remind you niggas of that. And yes, our music does come from slavery in part. Yes, it comes from the Negro spirituals in part, but it also comes from free black society in DC that kept the drums. That their drums weren't taken from them. And they still had drums in 1850 and 1860. It comes from the free black society in Philadelphia that was creating chamber music with string and horn arrangements in the year 1823, nigga. We dope as fuck. It comes from the free black society in Chicago that kept his instruments in the 1820s, 1840s. The free black societies in Indiana. This shit existed. Michigan, Detroit. It was black people that was free there the whole goddamn time. That was freely creating music. That when the great migration happened from the south to the north, the cultural exchange created the greatest music that we now know recorded history called rhythm and blues, jazz, blues, or whatever, whatever. But we've always had greatness and beauty within our trauma and pain. And we must show Mama Universe or God if you're a Christian or uh Kali or the fuck religion you is, I don't give a damn. Whatever that deity that you like, that you love and give love to, show that motherfucker love too. For we've always had joy within our pain. And the combination of the two is what keep us moving and how we still moving. No matter what the fuck Nixon and Reagan and Obama did to us and Biden is doing to us, we still kicking. We still kicking it. I told y'all I was just with my man J Mo and Charlie Burrell, two guitar gods. They had a show this past Friday in Long Beach, and they introduced a little young nigga that was 16 on the guitar. That little nigga was cold. Man, don't tell me shit. We still doing it, yo. But like our brother just said, John Horace, we as the listener, we as the people, we gotta lean into it. We gotta embrace it. I'm glad that brother made that point. We gotta embrace it. We can't just be sitting around here waiting on such and such magazine or this particular website or Jay-Z to validate somebody. Fuck them niggas. It's time that we go back to validating people. Fuck all them hoes. We validate people. You like it, you share it. You tell it to me, Dwan, this is a dope artist. I like them. Just like I'm gonna put up on my Twitter and Instagram, this who the fuck I'm listening to today. And let's do the grapevine, share our great music like we used to do. But John, go ahead and
Shit,
say what
that
you gotta say, then I'm gonna get to the next person.
yeah, I had learned about that Kingfish guy from you. Like I had heard some of his music. I was like, bro, his music is fucking crazy. I mean, I've never, you know what I'm saying, hearing somebody that gifted on a guitar, like I haven't heard that in a long time, bro. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just wanted to say that, everybody go check out Kingfish.
Kingfish is a cold motherfucker on guitar. That little nigga only 22. Man, he got some soul too. He sing like a grown ass man that done been here 15 times or more. But hell yeah. Um, Miss G, I know we got somebody else speaking, but anytime Miss G's ready to speak, it's your turn to speak. And so go ahead. I'm gonna close it down pretty after you speak. Don't invite nobody else up here. We'll get to that last speaker, CB, after Miss G. But no more speakers because yeah, I'm gonna be on with Dr. Short in an hour on YouTube. But go ahead, Miss G.
All right. Yes, I wanted to tap into that because it was a lot of free societies. And it also was a lot of like those who were enslaved, who were leased out across the country and into Europe. A lot that were leased out into Europe, which pretty much started like that music industry anyway, like the traveling artists, our artists, like leaving the country and traveling abroad, that actually extended over the years. A lot of those slaves that were on those plantations, like our people were very gifted. In many ways, there was free societies, absolutely, but it was absolutely they would listen to these slaves when they were on the plantations. That's where you get the rhythm and the blues from, because they had to stay in a rhythm when they were on those plantations. The original hype man started on the plantation. And that was the guy who was going around, you about to pass out from dehydration and every day and exhaustion and starvation. But it was that original hype man on the plantation that would get our people up and hype them up on the plantation, and then the others would join in. And you could hear that through some of the chain gang songs that they carried on those traditions with. And again, going back to rhythm and blues, it was a rhythm. This is why when you look at the railroad tracks, the nails in the railroads were so perfectly placed because of the rhythm that they created through song, as they built the railroad tracks throughout the country. It was so many things that our music influenced. That's why when Ishmael was talking about the vibrations are absolutely there. It's a level of intellect that everybody can tap into. That's why you got folk that can't grab a beat, can't step with the rhythm for anything. It's a level of intelligence that come with that, and our people, they used it. It was a science to it, and we have evolved it. And I'm with you. We have to. I'm saying take all of our shit personally, but with our sounds, we cannot denounce what came before, because then you forget how we got to this point. We're not, we won't be able to continue to evolve because we're starting at one level. So, and this is what they were able to do over the last 20 years. If you go back to 2000, music used to have age ranges. You knew your mama's music, you knew your grandmama's music, you knew your great grandmama's music, and you had a sound that was coming from your generation. And it was like everybody knew everybody's sound. Now, when you listen to the radio, you got grandma listening to the same damn music that the younger group are listening to. People are listening to, and it's for a reason. That's to keep us from evolving. In 2000, it was so many areas where music was about to evolve, and they put a cap on it. And we could go to neo soul. Remember when neo soul popped off? It was about to evolve, and then all of a sudden they stopped it. And they did that specifically because they already had this intent in mind. They was like, look, we're lining up these white rap artists, we're lining up these R&B artists. We can't have R. Kelly out here creating 30 new genres, because they know once he create that, it's like when Michael Jackson did the moonwalk. He paved the way for that, and then everybody that followed behind, they did it, and then they added their own twist to it. They evolve it, right? Nobody could touch the original. This is why they're like, look, we can't allow them to do this, because it's not going to be easy for them to step in and take over our genres. And that's what I wanted to add, because I know there were a lot of free societies, a lot of people that were free going up and down the East Coast, but it was free based on whatever conditions. However, those slaves were the ones, that's when you go into the deep soul and the emotional attachment to the sound, that experience. That's what really, like that alone pushed our music the most. Even when you go to Dirty Blues, it was a thing with Dirty Blues. Dirty Blues evolved. We always had that type of stuff in our music, but it was an emotion with that, and it was certain things with our music that only we can relate to because of that experience. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of those other things, and I know you're trying to get out of here, but
We needed that because that's just more a deeper dive into the perspective that I'm just trying to offer. That's way more complicated, and we're gonna. There's still so much that I don't know. I've been studying music since the '90s. There's so much I don't know. I'll be learning every fucking day. Had I happened to go into a museum the same day of my flight was delayed by an hour while I was in Philly, and it was raining, and I was like, I gotta get to this exhibit in the museum. And had I not gone to that museum, I would have not found information that's in even the books. Cause I don't just rely on the internet. I be buying books. I'll be buying all kind of books on music, and be going through those bibliographies and digging deeper. But I happened to find a whole new vein on Free Black Society's contribution to music because I happened to go into a display and at the at the museum in Philadelphia for on the Free Black Society in Philadelphia, an exhibit that's now gone. It was like the exhibit was around for like 2 more weeks when I went there, and I wanted to go and I couldn't make it because I had a show in Philly. Couldn't make it to the museum the first 2 days, and I got a text message saying my flight was delayed by an hour. And I went into that the Revolutionary War Museum, and I found this display on Free Black Society that I never knew existed. That wasn't even in the books that I bought. And now my documentary, I can go even further. So what does that tell me? It still tells me that it's still 99% of the shit, the information that there is available out there to know. I still don't know, and none of us all know it all. But through these conversations, through more of these talks, and us doing documentaries, or not, sometimes it's just a Twitter space or a conversation with your nieces and nephews. Understand how far that can go. Part of the reason why I'm so interested into the depth of music is my grandmother used to always, I used to watch these damn TV commercials, and you saw white people all over the commercials, but they was playing black music. I didn't know the music was black. I just hear a soundtrack with these white people dancing. It's a Duncan Hines commercial. I didn't know that was the Four Top singing. And my grandmother would always say they always using our stuff, and so that piqued the curiosity in me as a young boy. Hearing my grandma always talk about how they hate us but use our stuff, having those conversations. So you never know what conversations you having around the dinner table with the youngest listening, or piquing whatever interest that they having. So that's why I like having these conversations on Twitter Space. Hopefully, I can introduce information to y'all that can make y'all have conversations around y'all youngins, and then I can learn some shit from y'all that's gonna help my shit get better. I am not no motherfucking oracle. I'm just a shit talking ass nigga that love music and happen to like, and I love it so goddamn much. I ain't gonna let no Fat Joe motherfucker take our heritage and history. 'Cause that nigga, because he look musty. He ain't even got no black swag like Nikki was saying earlier. Look how this nigga wear his pants. Look at that nigga shape up beard. Come on now. You paying somebody for that? I do a better job in the mirror doing mine, nigga. You paying somebody for that? You don't look that goddamn bad that you getting the drawn on beard line? Come on, bruh. Well, where your bangs at, nigga? Your child, that nigga's middle school pictures. He had bangs. Niggas, hip hop niggas didn't have no fucking bangs growing up. Go look at that picture of Fat Joe when he was a kid. That nigga had bangs, yo. I ain't hip hop. Nigga, just what? None of that, and none of that's hip hop. Talking about lying in '95. Where, nigga, where is your experience in your music? Where's that at? Write a song about what some shit you been through and see if we listen to it. Hell, 95% of your music been a lie, and we ain't heard 95% of your songs. Not unless goddamn somebody else was featured on it. That's funny how that math worked, don't it? We ain't heard 98% of that nigga's music. But how the fuck is he announcing the BET Awards? Soul Train Awards, whatever awards. What kind of shit is this? But Miss G, you going to finish what you gotta say they don't kick.
Yeah, Dwan, he ain't even won a Grammy. I was putting stuff in the chat. So I
He
was
only
doing,
sold 1.5 million records. That's it.
listen, and that was just for back, the line. He is lying, like with the whole, like everything. He actually lied. But they, you haven't even won a Grammy, but you're getting us around to all of our work. You haven't won the White Award. Where's the White Award?
Right, he ain't even won a white award. That's a great fucking
Exactly.
point. He ain't even won the white folks awards.
Like he ain't even got the White Award.
And white folks,
How big
and
and
think about it,
angry that?
and white folks look for a reason to put a non-black person to give them an award. All they gotta do is all a non-black person has to do is not suck in black music and they get a Grammy. And he couldn't do that. That's a great fucking point. All they gotta do is not suck, Bruno Mars, and they get a Grammy. Adele, and they get a Grammy. Just don't suck.
Lord.
Eminem.
And the last piece, the one is Magic Johnson. I'm looking through this. I'm heated because I'm going to do a little bit more research. But Magic Johnson is on his he's one of the people who is part of his agency, like one of the heads of his agency. So we need to holler at Magic Johnson for allowing his artists to be spreading these lies. He's like
Thank you
the
for that. I
only
did
black
not know.
that
So that alone makes Kobe the greatest Laker of all time over Magic Johnson. Argument settled. Two reasons why Kobe's the greatest Laker of all time. On my 29th birthday, I had 15th row seats to see my Lakers beat the Celtics in that game 7 with Kobe Bryant winning the MVP. So that right there makes Kobe because I was there for that game. I was there for that whole series. And Magic Johnson supporting Fat Joe. So that ends our argument. I was like, leaning towards Magic. But yeah, that ends our arguments right there. The
even
Mamba is the greatest Laker of all time.
yeah, even though he's on the sports side of that agency, it doesn't matter. He's lying on your culture. He's straight up lying on your culture. And you got power in that agency. You need to make some phone calls. But they're not. He's not saying anything. He's just sitting back twiddling his thumbs. He's not talking anything negative towards them. And that's because of the bag that's attached. What bag?
And I
And
wish,
oh, go ahead.
I low key wish it was always a bag. But this is one thing I surmise, and I'm gonna get to the next person because I do got to shut it down in the next 10 minutes. A lot of these niggas agree. Listen to the truth. A lot of black men are neutered and see no issue with non-black people claiming ownership of what we created. Let's just tell the whole truth. It's a hard truth to tell. I am a black man. I don't like certain things, but it's a lot of neuter niggas who just don't mind. I was listening to the Star Report the other day, and there was niggas called in was like, well, Fat Joe Dig, he has been around the culture for a long time, so it is cool that he earned his stripes. That's how a lot of these niggas talk. Can we be honest? But I'm gonna get to the next person because I gotta be out here in the next 5 minutes, 5 minutes or so. So CB, go ahead, my brother.
Hi, this is Chris from San Diego. Um, Fat Joe is not relevant. He's got like he's only sold like 1.5 million records throughout a whole 10 album deal. I mean, all 10 of his albums. Uh, he's like these Mexicans now. They want to get up in hip hop and call us the N word. And now they're claiming that they invented it. It's blasphemous. He's part of a bigger machine that wants to eliminate black people, period. All right, thank you.
He's right. They put an irrelevant motherfucker to be a part of the machine, and that's what it is. Shimmy Business, you back up here, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and say something before I have Miss J and Nate close it out.
I'm so sorry. I know you're trying to get out of here, but I had to say something
Go
because
ahead,
if
sister.
you go watch that verses, he could not even carry verses on his own. He had to have Remy Ma. He had to do other people's songs like Big Pun because he could not even carry the show with his own songs. And then the other thing about it, he did some horrible wardrobe change nonsense that completely killed the whole energy of the song. And I swear to goodness, Nelly was back there with Ashanti. I promise I think this is what happened. And I think he begged Nelly on the break to come perform because Nelly was even performing his own songs at a Fat Joe and Ja Rule versus. Like, and he was trying to clown Ja Rule the whole time, but it's like you can't even shut Ja Rule down. So I'm gonna go down, but I'm sorry, I just had to add that. Please, y'all,
No,
go back and watch that verses.
don't apologize for that because I remember watching that shit live. I forgot all about it. He looked like a goddamn clown on his own verses. It looked like a versus between who he is and who he say he is, and who he is was kicking who he says his ass. A goddamn cornball. Um, corny ass nigga. So anyway, um, Nikki Miss G, give us some wisdom before I close it out.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm not gonna say much. I'm thinking back to what She Means Business just said, and I'm kind of getting angry thinking about it because I'm visualizing it again because I watched it in real time too, and there was a lot of disrespect going on. And when you looked at him, he looked just like a clown. He had no swag. He had no originality. It is up to the foundational Black American artists to stop allowing this bullshit. I feel like we need to put more pressure on the Black American artists to speak up. We have our old school people who are just sitting back and collecting checks and not saying anything. These are people who used to be on code. I don't know what the fuck happened, but this would not be allowed if they would not have if they would speak up and say something. It shouldn't be you and Tariq with the biggest voices putting a stop to it. The people who are already in the industry need to be speaking up and saying something. And I'll rest right there. Thank you. Go ahead,
I
Sister
agree
G.
with that.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with that. It should be way more people talking about this, like way more. But go ahead, Miss G.
Yeah, and I wanted to jump in because what alarming, I'm seeing Magic Johnson and smile there. um, So all the white schools, they contribute to this white construct, but then when shit pops off, like what's happening with um Diddy right now, then they looking at us like, where the people at? Like, did he try? Like, he was trying to swerve some stuff with the with the revolt. And I think that he was on the verge of doing something. I can't speak for the man. But they looked at him, they said, you gonna back up and you better sit in the nigga's face. All of those people who pretty much went against everything in our society for their own personal gain, now we're seeing in real time, like a lot of the industry is coming after them, and they look at us and they looking at us like, hey, can you help? And the biggest thing that we're looking at is like, why didn't you say something sooner? You didn't seen all of this stuff happening to us. You allowed them to smear the names and our stuff just so that you can maintain your bag, shut up and dribble, walking around with your head down. And see, now I see a lot of artists because I've been going to live concerts, and me and She Means Biz stay in a live concert, okay? And we went to see SWV and Drew Hill and all of them. And let me tell you what they were doing. They was calling it out the bull crap on the stage because I think they've been listening to us too. So they kind of catching on. They like, you know what? We got to stand up and say something at their concerts where it's like the only cameras is on that's on people's cell phones. They was doing that. They was saying the very things that we're asking people to say now. But we need people to do more. But that also comes with us supporting our artists. So it's two things that gotta happen at one time. Like, we have to support the artist and the artist gotta represent. That's the difference from today's artists and the ones before. And that's also the reason why these are a lot of the ones today are elevated, and the other ones back in the day either died poor, died depressed, or they went through the blues for not selling out to the system, or they had to conform. So, yeah, and big ups to Stevie for shouting out reparations. Huge big ups to Stevie for that. And we know that he's already on that revolutionary side. He was also one of those contributors back in that day, giving out that money to our people during that civil rights era time, and using his musical position to revolutionize things. And that's what we need to get back to, and I think the grassroots is going to take us there. So this is up to everybody in these spaces and beyond to start supporting those Black grassroots artists who are doing that. We elevate the artists. We have the ability to make our own award winners. Shit, we can make our own award platforms now. We have that ability, so let's handle that. And like I said, I'm down with you all day, Dewan. We're gonna be rocking it out, and keep pushing forward. You and Tariq with it. So I land by saying the revolution will continue on the underground side, though.
That's all right. That's right. I appreciate that. Yeah, like we gotta support. We gotta know they out there. We gotta support the ones that are out there. That's why, I said I got my live music night that I do. I'm supporting young artists, young singers, people that you ain't heard of. Nice Girl, she was at both my shows. We gonna start it back up next year. Taking a little break. That took a hell of a lot of work energy out of me to do them live music shows. Y'all don't know how much energy I take. But yeah, so yeah, we doing that, and we got to make sure that we support our own, and we got to do it with love, and then make sure that we pass this information down to our own, support our own, like bring back the grapevine and pass these messages down to the next generation. And part of what you said, as far as, I'm glad to hear Drew Hill knows groups speaking up, because in them trying to take hip hop, they're also at the same time completely erasing rhythm and blues. And because you see all this K-pop and all these they now have Koreans as the face of rhythm and blues, and those Korean groups that are up there, BT Express, well, BT, K, whatever the fuck that name is, they're not putting New Edition in their videos. They're not acknowledging they're playing SWV's music. They're not even putting them in the videos and acknowledging these people, these black contributors, creators of this sound that's now popularized through Japanese artists and Korean artists. So we have to see this going on. And with them trying to make it seem as if hip hop was the only thing black folks listen to, we're listening to Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown was selling more records than the hip hop guys. Bobby Brown was more popular than anybody in hip hop during his time. And so through them trying to change up and erase black folks from hip hop, they're totally erasing the other forms of music we were listening to that were just as popular, and in some cases more popular than hip hop was at the time, by acting like they just didn't completely exist at all. And so it is in their best interest that they speak up, and that we echo them and support them when they do speak up. And then when they support Fat Joe and they support our erasure, let's clown the fuck out of them and call them out for being hoe ass niggas. All right. Um, Catch me over on YouTube in about an hour and a half with Dr. Randy Short. We're gonna switch it up, be talking a little bit more about politics on that side of the game. What's going on with all these motherfuckers croaking? Sandra Day O'Connor, sorry ass Kissinger, and all these sorry motherfuckers from the old regime dying off. Me and Dr. Short gonna break all that down and more. So get ready for that over on YouTube. Contribute to the documentary. The GoFundMe link is in the profile. It's on DwannB.com also. And yeah, because we still filming it. We moving on. But we can move on a lot faster and be a little more sharper with you guys' help. All right. My name is Dwan. Follow me on all my social media and all that shit. And I thank you, Nikki and Miss G and Breeze, Michael Wartime, everybody down there, Sage. Appreciate y'all. We out.